think that might be possibly working. We'll find out in a moment. We'll see if anyone starts to come in on the YouTube side or not. But I think it is. Yes. Okay. We appear to be back in action. I'll just let Sean know. Hopefully he'll know what to do to come and join. Back on. That was a shame. I was enjoying that discussion with David. Very, very annoying indeed. Hey, Boogie. Nice to see you again. It seems we're back. Okay. There you go. That is good. Where's Sean, though? Well, let's see what happens. That was lots of fun, wasn't it? Hey, Robotaholic, lovely to see you. We've been having all sorts of fun. We were right in the middle of a stream. Everything was going brilliantly, and then suddenly the internet just completely crashed. My whole house totally lost connection. And I thought I wasn't going to get it back at all because I tried doing all the things you normally do and nothing worked. But it seems like it's back now. So let all praise to Puff. Puff the Magic Dragon was there when we needed the help. And I'm guessing that is Sean is back on video.
That was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. Total complete internet crash. Total internet disaster. But anyway, we have recovered. We seem to be back now, which is very exciting. Indeed. Honestly. Not good. And hopefully we'll get a few more in on the YouTube side because it doesn't look particularly well stocked right now. But there we go. Yeah, we were doing so well. But looks like Puff didn't like your mockery, so he fucked up your internet. Yeah, it does look a little bit like that, Jim, doesn't it? But I did pray to Puff, and the internet appears to now be working again. So that is very good indeed. And while we're here, we're going to read out a couple of messages while we're waiting for the room to restock, as it were. So we have Tim says, I know you know, even if you don't know, and I know because the book says so. Has that ever convinced anyone? Well, that's basically the kind of arguments we get. I don't think that the actual arguments are any more sophisticated than that. In fact, that one sounds pretty good to me. And then we also have Drew says, I've solved the father of Joseph contradiction. Oh, I wonder what it is. Joseph's mother wasn't sure who his father was. That's a good explanation. So like the two available names of Jacob and Heli are just like, they're the candidates, aren't they? They're the candidate possibilities for that situation. Yeah, I like that. That's definitely a possibility. Okay, well, it seems like we're kind of back in play. So we're gonna pick up from where we were. Apparently Justin is on, but he's been going 3 hours already. Yeah, I mean, I normally try to time my streams to avoid Justin so we don't directly kind of cross over. I don't think he normally streams on Thursday nights because I know he normally does Friday nights, but hey, it is what it is. So
by the way, David fine. And I, after your internet went south, David and I were still on video hashing it out for quite some time. And finally, when you told me, because I didn't know if it would get sorted out, but we were, he still wanted to talk, and we were still going for a while.
So you were talking in private. That's absolutely fine. I hope you had a productive conversation. He was a nice guy. He was a nice guy.
For sure. Yeah. Actively listens. Great dude. But we'll talk to him again.
Yeah, he's definitely welcome back. Okay, so we'll just do the little things again for anyone who needs me to. So the join link is now in the YouTube chat, and we're going to get Sir Jedrick in, who is back in the TikTok queue. a very, very good friend of the channel. And then we'll see what happens after that. Hopefully, hopefully the internet will hold out. If it crashes again, I'm taking my ball and going home. Hey, Sir Jedrick, how are you?
Good evening, guys. How are y'all?
Yeah, good.
Hey, what's going on, Jed? How are you?
Doing pretty well. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we
got you.
Awesome. I was really enjoying that conversation that you had before everything went down.
Yeah, we were too.
Yeah, he seemed very very polite in his approach, and I really appreciated that.
Absolutely.
I wanted to maybe push back on one thing that he was saying though. And it's the whole concept of John. I think you started it with the concept of hell and the concept of eternal punishment for someone not believing. And Screaming and I were going back and forth in the chat. You know, the one sin that God evidently can't forgive is the sin of unbelief.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting thing because the guest was taking the road which is it's more palatable for sure. He was taking the road of we should be more kind and loving, and then what I got from what he was saying was then eventually bring this topic up to unbelievers or those that you encounter and try to win them over anyway. And I tend to find that disingenuous, even though that individual may be kind or whoever is approaching us with this topic, because it is kind of the foundation of the belief system. It's the foundation of everything that they believe in.
Yeah.
And so eventually that topic will come up and it will be some sort of I guess for lack of better terms, trying to shove it down someone's throat, even in a kind manner, if that makes sense. And I just wanted to push back on that just a little bit and say, maybe if you feel that you really need to ask somebody about this, maybe just ask them, hey, is it okay to discuss religion first, instead of just coming out with things like this.
Yeah. And of course, it's so foundational to someone's worldview. Sometimes it doesn't even occur to them that would be a boundary that someone might not, want discussed or want to engage with at all.
Correct. Yes, and it's a boundary that is very meaningful to me personally at the moment. It may not be as forefront in my mind later on in my life as it is right now, because I'm really in this process of trying to figure out where I'm at mentally, spiritually, those types of things. And so when someone comes across these things, and I have some both my side of the family and my wife's side of the family are very unaccepting of the position that my wife and I are in life right now. Simply relocating from where we used to live all in close proximity to each other, moving to a different state, is out of the will of God and against God's will. And it's a sin. We should not be doing what we're doing, even though, man, we're just living life. We're just going to work and coming home and trying to love on our son,
Right.
And so it's a very, I wanted to push back on that a little bit because it's a really detrimental concept to having, I guess, cohesive relationships with just interacting with people in general.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And it's like nobody asks the question at the beginning of those conversations. Nobody sort of says, is this framework meaningful to you in any kind of way? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is this something you can engage with in any kind of way, or does it just sound like complete nonsense? Because in a way, if it's not, it's pointless. Like, don't tell me about my need to be saved and all of that kind of stuff. It's like it's not part of my world. But it's sort of assumed that because it's foundational to their worldview, because it's foundational for them, that it would be foundational for everyone else as well.
Correct. Yeah, and that is the concept. That's the concept that I carried for so long. Well, and I was laughing earlier at this word "obviously" that kept getting thrown around. Well, obviously the world was created, and obviously Jesus died for our sins, and obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, you're speaking to an audience that first of all rejects that premise. So we have to start where we have common ground somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of these arguments do end up being circular in that way, right? In that the evidence and the reasons and the rationales provided to shore up the belief depend on you accepting it to begin with. You know, like the poor
Yes.
chap who came in earlier and said, you know, who are you to criticize your maker? Well, no, I'm not. I'm not criticizing my maker because I don't think he is my maker. That's what's being disputed. It's such a
Exactly.
funny blind spot.
Yes, and even with that comment there, they've just completely skipped over the fact that, you know, you don't consider him to be your maker. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I wondered, and please tell me if this is not an appropriate time for this. I wondered if I might tag on to a little bit and share maybe just a few more minutes of my story and get you guys' thoughts, and tag
Yeah.
on to a little bit of Hasty Jane's comments and also Screaming Silence comments.
Please do.
Because I know that maybe some of this content might be a little heavy, and if that's not an appropriate thing for this time, and we need to move on with the channel, just tell me.
Well, right now the queues are empty, so you know, we can keep going.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much. It's something that I'm really struggling with personally right now. And I appreciated Hasty Jane's and Screaming's comments so much because I think this is a topic that, first of all, I really struggle to even speak about it. But I'm trying to learn how to allow my body to feel emotions and work through those things. And just having somebody to talk to and somebody to listen also really helps. Aside from just my wife, she does an amazing job of that. But we have zero support system, you know. And I lost my little brother a couple years ago to a drowning accident.
Sorry, man.
And we recently lost a family friend. I just lost my uncle this past week as well. And so it's something that, again, you know, is just in the forefront of my mind. And as the head of my household, trying to provide for my family, I typically just kind of push these thoughts to the back of my mind and try to live life and function, you know. But it's you know, at times, because I'm doing that, I think that it becomes more overwhelming when it does surface. And trying to deconstruct this whole religious thought process that I was born into, figure out where I believe, if I even need to believe in any specific thing or a God or something like that, believe in a heaven or a hell. I'm just trying to be basic for you know, the course of the conversation. It gets obviously is a lot more in depth and involved and intense than that. But then trying to figure out, you know, it seems like I have to have all of those things in place before I can even let my brain know where to be on, you know, the passing of a loved one and things like that. And I just wanted to maybe get y'all's thoughts on that, because it's a very it's a very real thing, and a very thing that's obviously dear to my heart right now. And it's so difficult to try to work through.
I mean, nobody can tell you what you should believe, but what I would always say is you're richer for having shaken off the shackles of feeling obligated to believe anything. So that's where the value comes, and where the improvement to your life comes, is just from the realization that there is no book or person or set of rules constraining what you're allowed to find true, constraining what you're allowed to find convincing. There are no punishments in store for getting it wrong. And just that realization alone then just leaves you to kind of, the way I feel, sort of conceptualize it, is like move around the information space freely and just use your own judgment and your own intuition and your own common sense and your own logic and reason to try to figure out what's what, and also to not necessarily expect that you have to have the answers. It's okay to say I don't know, and to live and be in that uncertainty is very, very human and very natural, and very liberating, because it takes the pressure off you to say, well, I need to sort this out. I need to know what the right answer is. I need to settle now on the right answer. We don't know the right answer to a lot of these questions, and it's not for me or for anyone to say to you, this is what you should think, this is what you should believe. But I just think that where you've come so far, both of you, and it was lovely to get to speak to your wife as well, is in shaking off those shackles of belief that kept you trapped, where you're allowed to believe anything as long as it's this, or this, or within these lines. These are the lines that you have to stay between, and you can't go outside them. Well, those lines don't exist. You can believe whatever you want. You can, you are going to believe whatever convinces you. It's not even a matter of choice. You're going to explore the different ways of thinking about things, and you're going to find that something makes sense to you some of the time. And then when it doesn't, it's okay to be in the I don't know.
I have occasionally had people from this live who are in the middle of deconstructing send me a DM and ask me for advice, like, hey, I'm in a sense that they're expressing they're trying to get rid of this God belief, but this one thing keeps them wondering, it could be the mystery of the universe, whatever. And I always tell them the same thing, that, the biggest thing I'm concerned about, I'm not out here trying to say, well, here's how to get rid of it. And that's not super important to me. What's important to me is that they feel safe and comfortable and without fear of hell to explore these thoughts for themselves. And I'm perfectly happy if they no longer fear hell, but there's still something is still tying them to their, some creator of the universe or something like that. That's the fun part, is to explore those questions. And if anyone wants my perspective, like, hey, this thing still convinces me, what do you think? I'm happy to share my views, but I am not about like trying to pressure people, like, you have to shake that God belief. I want you to feel free and explore that for yourself and talk to people and get other perspectives, and I'll share mine. But what I'm not going to do is tell you,
Yeah.
if you still believe in some kind of God, you're a dumb butt, or I'm not going to go down that road. Like, I want you to experience those types of thoughts and that introspection and exploration, talking to people and reading and learning, and you no longer have those fear shackles on your mind. I'm not going to deprive you of that.
Yeah. Well
I
said.
really appreciate that, because I'm 34 years old and I still wake up in the middle of the night with just feeling of absolute terror of
Yeah.
something that I missed throughout the previous day that I messed up with or something, and it's not even real. It's not there, but that's my brain and my body reacting to those things, and it's a horrible thing. Um, and when and I like to say thank you, Sean, for the way you worded that, because it's not as if I'm approaching this deconstruction process as trying to throw away.
Right.
I'm not trying to prove that something is incorrect or something else is more correct. It's this prompt up here. It's that I kept being unconvinced about things, and
Right.
the God of the Old Testament specifically is an absolute asshole. And
Yeah.
if you keep coming up against these things and you just keep being unconvinced, and there keeps being things that are just irreconcilable, you can't write them in your mind. You try to compare how I was taught, compare scripture with scripture and work these things out, and I come up with the same answer every time. It's not right,
Yeah.
and it's not moral, and you can't do these things. Women are not treated appropriately. God decides to go and genocide people from the land of Egypt all the way to the land of Canaan, and all the people in the land of Canaan, in order to give, I guess, air quotes, his chosen people some sort of land. And the reason that he states along the way for all of that schmurdering there is the fact that they were wicked, and those people didn't even know that they were wicked. So it's all these things, it's just an impassable wall in my mind I can't get through. And so I become unconvinced of that. I take a step away from it. Now my parents won't speak to me.
Yeah.
I'm the middle child out of 11 kids. I have sisters that absolutely refuse to take a phone call from me.
11 kids.
Um,
I'm sorry. Go, keep going.
no, you're fine. And my wife's family is treating her the same way, and so it feels, everything
Yeah.
about doing this process feels, I guess, wrong, because of the system that we were in, and trying to take a step away from that. Obviously we're physically out of that now, but it's so that every minute aspect of life is so difficult, trying
Yeah.
to mentally work through these things, figure out how we need to try to still relate to siblings and those types of things, and my parents, just doing all the crazy that they're doing. That's beside the point. But I hope that paints more of a clear picture of the just intense struggle, and maybe you guys have some wisdom that I don't have.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't presume to wisdom, but I would say that sometimes it takes time for other people to acclimate. Like it's been a very big change for you, and you kind of felt it coming. Whereas for other people, they may not have been privy to that, all the sort of mental things that were happening in your mind that led up to you taking this step away. They probably weren't privy to that. They didn't have access. So for them, it's like one moment you're there, and the next minute you're outside the folds of what's acceptable and good in their mind. So I'm hoping that certainly in the case of family, there's got to be a conversation at some point to say, I'm still the person you love. I'm still the person who loves you. I'm still the person who's here for you if you need, like all the things that we had in common before that join us together, we still have. There's just a difference of opinion about some other things. And hopefully, the love that we have for each other is not conditional on having the same opinion about everything. That would be my hope. And ultimately, if that's not possible, even with the passage of time and you're trying to make reasonable kind of overtures in that way, then it's hard. Then you have to adjust to a life where those relationships either aren't there anymore or are there in a different form. And I really hope that's not the case for you. I know that there are people. I mean, I remember hearing Matt Dillahunty speak about his family, and that things were very, very difficult with his family when he first stepped away from the faith, and eventually they reached a kind of an accommodation where, like, they don't necessarily like where he's at, but they accept it. There are areas where the conversation just doesn't go, and I hope that you can reach a point like that in time with your family where they don't have to agree with you and you don't have to agree with them, but that doesn't stop you from respecting each other and loving each other and focusing on the things that where your interests and the things you care about are aligned.
Right. I thank you for that. I definitely wish that, for some of my family, some of them are definitely in the first position that you stated there, which just, it's upsetting their system of belief, and they can't accept that. And so there's no relationship there now. And mind you, this is, I worked with my dad. He was on the mission field, and he was a pastor. So we grew up in a pastor's home. And I worked with him side by side for 25 years. Got married and was supposed to go back and work with him. And then some things happened, stuff like that. But it just feels really awful for that type of relationship to just immediately be, ended, because I simply, moved. I haven't had any types of these discussions with any of them because he's not accepting. But I do absolutely agree with what you had said earlier about maybe they didn't know. We were thinking about these things for a long time before we made the decision. They did not. So thank you for that bit of perspective there. Sometimes perspective gets lost in the situation that you're in. So
sure, and understandably,
really appreciate that.
It's hard to see the wood for the trees when you're in the middle of the forest, right?
Yes. But I also just wanted to say, don't want to take up any more of y'all's time. Just wanted to say that I check your page daily for when you're going to go live next, in case your schedule changes or something, because this community has, in just the short amount of time that I've been here, has just showed an absolutely tremendous amount of love, and the wealth of knowledge that I gain from you and Sean, outside of the biblical knowledge that I have. You guys are just absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you. Please keep up
Thanks,
the
Chad.
good.
Thanks, man. We love having you
Always
around.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good
Take
luck with
care.
everything.
Take care,
Thank
buddy.
you guys.
All the best. Okay. Yeah, we've had some really amazing callers tonight from the community, and as much as I love the debates and we love the cut and thrust and we love the crash outs and we love the all of that stuff, we love all of that. It is really, really wonderful when we get to hear from the people who actually make this this community what it is. We're going to hear from another one in a moment. We have Erin in the TikTok queue, who will get in just a moment. I just wanted to address something. So there was some discussion in the YouTube queue about Justin. Intellect 123 had just come from Justin's stream and was wondering about the possibility of a collaboration. And I can tell you that Justin and I were speaking today. We are going to be doing a joint stream on the 9th of April at 6 p.m. Eastern. So
that's great.
Just to let you know that that's something we've been trying to get in the diary for a little while, but we will be doing that. So that'll be fun. Yeah, thanks, Sean. That'll be fun. So he's been.
So are you going to be up on a as a guest, like doing a split screen kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure exactly how we'll do it. Whether I'll just guest
The
in
logistics.
his thing. Yeah, however he wants to do it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to fit in with however
Sure.
he wants to structure it. But that would be fun because we've been sort of talking about it for a little while. So it'd be nice to cross the streams, as it were.
Oh, for sure. That's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We have David back. Lovely to see David back again in the YouTube queue. So we will get David back in a moment. We're just going to speak to our good friend Erin Grapejuice first, and then hopefully we'll move things on from there. Thanks for your patience, David. Let's see what Erin is saying. Hey, Erin.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just started running my dog, so you might hear him. So sorry for that.
That's
timing.
okay. That's all right.
Got to get his energy out before bed.
Gotta do it.
But I was driving home from my mother-in-law's house listening earlier, and I heard screaming, and I heard Hasty like right about when we got home. You know, I can't presume to know how they feel because I've never been a believer, but I understand that the loss of connections or the loss of your worldview can be so just like mind shattering. And I have complete empathy for that because that happens in different like stages of life when you first learn that your parents are like fallible people. You, I don't know, see a teacher outside of school and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a real person. It's not just a teacher. Like you have these moments, but
Yeah.
having this fundamental like background come away too, I can't relate to that. I completely feel empathy over that. And
Yeah.
I know that when we had family members who passed, I lost my sister because she turned religious. And, you know, with all the other stuff in the States, she's become one of those folks. And so I'm going to hell,
Yeah.
even though we
that's
were not
horrible.
raised religious at all. I am doing all of the bad things. I take my kids to free thinker meetings and like humanist meetings so he can have, you know, science. Like a lot of the people on this channel, one of the things that there was just talking about, there are so many people that come into your lives that are just like the most intelligent people. And it's such a great community. And sometimes he's listening in the background because, you know,
That's
I think he's
awesome.
old enough to understand some of this.
How old
But
is he?
he just turned 13 in November.
That's a
So
lovely
he's,
age. That's a lovely age.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we
I
had, oh, go ahead, Sean, sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't know that was a thing. I knew there were like skeptic conferences and that sort of thing. Can you tell us what those meetings are about? The humanist and free thinker meetings?
Yeah, so we actually meet at a local diner. There's probably about 40 of us. And, you know, people come and go just with stuff that happens in life. But we center it around talking about kind of modern events and history. And there are a couple of university professors. One of our friends in the group, she's like an audiologist. And then like me, I just have a history degree, but I, you know, run a store. So people from all walks of life. And oh gosh,
Okay, well, this is some crazy business right here. This is crazy work because the internet just went off again. So this is the final try. If it happens again, I'm going to give up for tonight. I was going to give up anyway because it's really annoying to just get back into the swing of it and have it fall away again. But I'm going to give it one last try, as they say. 3 seems to be the magic number. So I'm hoping that we might just limp through to the end of the live stream because I've still got stuff I want to share with you, still got stuff I want to tell you about and stuff I want to show you. So welcome back in if you're back again. Hey, Jiffy, lovely to see you, buddy. Yeah, we'll see what happens. If it goes off again, then consider that me done for tonight, and I'll be phoning my internet service provider in the morning, and it won't be pleasant. What's going to happen will not be good at all, because this is very, very annoying indeed. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. I mean, it's so annoying. I honestly thought someone had like cut a cable or something because it literally just went completely dead. I'm fully expecting it to happen again. So if it does, then consider this good night if it happens again. But for now, let's limp on and see if we can get going. It's so annoying with these things because when a live stream just stops, the room's obviously empty, and you have to try and build it back up again. And some people have moved away, and you kind of lose all the momentum you'd built up, and it is really, really frustrating. But there we are. I am trying to sort out actually changing my connection to a much, much faster fiber connection. And when I do that, I will then be doing a horizontal stream and a vertical stream as well.
If you have access to fiber there,
yeah,
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Oh no, I will be. It just involves digging underneath a car park next to in front of a building near my house. So I'm just negotiating with the people who own that to allow me to do it.
Gotcha.
So it's not straightforward, but I am going to do it. So I'm going to do it. Whatever it costs me, I'm going to do it. This is unsustainable right now. So there we are. Laura, lovely to see you in the YouTube chat. I hope you're well. And Ramesh, hey from India. Well, hey back to India. I hope everything is good over there. And hey, Froggy as well. All right. Well, we are currently without guests. We were in the middle of speaking to Erin, and we were so rudely interrupted. And we had David waiting in the wings to come back in and pick up again. I'm nervous. Whoever comes to join us now, it could happen again.
I mean, worst case scenario, it's the same as always. It's just less people because, off and on.
Yeah.
Justin's still doing his thing. But yeah, we could have a quieter night. No big deal.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. So while we're waiting for guests to turn up, so I do have this questions submission form for members on the Inquirers or Inner Circle tier that they can send me questions and stuff to talk about. And so I'm going to address some of that. But we do actually have a guest request that's just come in on the TikTok side. So I'll put my questions off till later, and let's bring in Kincaid and see what's happening there. Hopefully it'll be all right. Hi there.
How you doing?
Kincaid?
Yes, I'm fine. Why did you black out my face?
No one has blocked out any faces. You're
so the image, your profile pictures, there's just TikTok is buggy. Like mine's not up either. Sometimes it pops in and out. It's not something John is doing.
I can see you.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice picture of you with is it a dog or a cat? I can't quite make it out. But
yes, that was when I was blonde. It's kind of an old picture.
There you go. Well, you're in now. So welcome. And I'm not sure if you've been following the live at all, but I've had horrendous connection issues tonight. Someone's doing something with the phone lines near my house. So if we suddenly all disappear, then consider that a good night and thanks for coming. But in the meantime, you're very welcome.
I'm sorry. Are you in England?
I am. Can you tell?
Well, yes. Okay. So let's have some fun here. Oh, don't I just joined? So let me guess. Okay. Don't nobody give it away. Cheshire, Liverpool, Birmingham,
No.
Sussex.
Close. I'm not too far from Sussex. I'm
Leeds.
actually
Leeds.
in. Well, Leeds is a very long way from Sussex, a couple of
I have a
hundred
friend in
miles.
Leeds.
Yeah. I'm in
London.
I'm in Surrey, just south of London. But we don't need to talk about that. That's not
No,
going
I
to
just
be.
was guessing. I just like to guess.
Well, you nailed it with Sussex. That's not far at all. But welcome in.
No, I know. I have a best friend in Leeds.
Leeds is nice. Yeah, Leeds is nice.
Yeah, a lot of countryside.
What would you like to say? The floor is yours. Would you like to talk about our prompt?
Actually, I would prefer to listen some more if I could, please. I'm new, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, if you want to, I mean, there's sort of just listening, being in the audience listening.
Well,
which
I
is
kind of no. I lost. I can't see the topic anymore since you.
okay.
added
Well,
me.
the topic was God is silly, so we can talk about that if you like.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. Do you think God is silly? I do.
Well, has anyone ever heard the term cradle Catholic? It
Cradle
means you
I
were
Catholic.
haven't
born into
heard that.
Catholicism, but doesn't mean you believe it anymore. You were born
Right.
into it, but I can't
Yeah.
blame my parents. I wasn't
Sure.
even old enough to learn. But over the years, I was pulled out of Catholicism right before my communion. My parents got a divorce, which a lot of Catholics don't believe in divorce.
Yeah.
So, but there's certain things about Catholicism that I respect. But do I believe in it anymore? No, I'm pro-choice, and but I do believe that there is some respect to Catholicism, only on two different levels. But that's why I wanted to listen some more. There's only
Sure.
two ways I respect Catholic.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so our thing really is that the main kind of crux of what we talk about here is pushing back on religious systems that tell people that they're bad for believing the wrong thing. So that's the main thing. And then we've got kind of topics that come off that. And, one of those is God is silly, because I just think the whole concept of a God is silly. I think it's silly that for all of human history, we've always traveled in one direction, which has been replacing supernatural explanations for things with non-supernatural explanations for things. As we learn more stuff and we learn how things work, we realize that illnesses are not caused by demons, crop failures are not caused by curses, weather is not caused by angry gods, thunder and lightning aren't angry gods. All of these things are always the same direction. It's taking a religious or supernatural idea and going, actually, we don't need that anymore. That doesn't explain this. Here's a thing that does explain it, and we cast those ideas aside. And yet we appear not to have learnt from thousands of years of human history that we still persist in these ideas of trying to explain the bits we don't understand with sort of magical thinking, and I think that's a bit silly.
Well, for real, like I said in my comment, I feel good energy from you. So may I please listen?
Sure,
May I
yeah,
sit here and listen?
you can,
Thank
you
you.
can,
May
yeah.
I
I
listen
mean,
to other people?
yeah, sure. I mean, so most of the guest spots are really for sort of more interaction. I'm delighted, of course, that you want to listen, but
Can you give me like 15 minutes to listen to other people?
yeah, why don't we drop you down, and then when you have something that you want to contribute to the conversation, just request up again and we'll bring you back in. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
is it
All right,
John
we'll do that.
John Cohen?
Yeah.
Thank you. So please keep me welcome.
You are
Of course.
welcome. So you're going to we're just going to drop the call down now, and then when you want to
Okay.
come back in, just hit request again. We'll bring you back. It's all good. There's no obligation
you.
to talk. But yeah, Nice to meet you
I
and speak to you,
appreciate that.
Kincaid.
May I ask one more thing? What time is it where you are?
It's fairly late. It's coming up to 3 a.m.
Oh, see, it's almost 8 o'clock here, p.m.
Yeah, you're just getting
I'm
warmed
in
up.
Arizona. I'm in
Ah,
Arizona.
okay. Yeah, right. Yep.
Well,
Well,
thank you.
hit that request button when you want to come back. When you figure out something I say is nonsense and you want to set me straight, hit the button and come and tell us why.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Let me listen. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks. Okay. We are going to go across to the YouTube side, and we have Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. I don't know if you've been here for long, but we've been having I've been having horrendous internet issues tonight.
Oh, I've been here since you started, pretty much, and I realized
okay.
all that.
So you know, yeah. So may it be officially said that if I suddenly crash again, that will be me bowing out for tonight. I'm not going to keep on fighting it.
One bit there.
If the gods don't want me to do this tonight, then I will give them what they want. So
I understand that.
With that said, you're very welcome. Nice to speak.
Same here. I'll keep it brief. Sure. I just want to thank you for what you're doing. When you hear all the people who make these bad apologetics or bad arguments for religion or belief that don't make any sense whatsoever to even a rational person. So people like you and others like Justin, they help out with people like me I've recently just finally admit that I'm a full atheist now recently in my life. But it's hard because most of my older relatives, especially my mother and my aunts, they're all still very religious. And even though we still get along for the most part, but when things go bad, they always say, just because you're atheist, this is why things are wrong with your life, stuff like that.
Wow.
It is what it is. But I've learned to deal with it the best way I can. It's just try to keep not talking about it, keep it to a bare minimum, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with it, but don't bring it up as much as possible.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the most sensible thing, is to just understand that there's it's like water and oil, and they don't mix, and just keep them separate. And it's okay to just say, right, okay, well, you've got your stuff going on, that's fine. I've got my stuff going on, that's fine. It doesn't mean that we don't care about the same people or about the same other issues or whatever it might be. That's okay. It's all right to negotiate those kind of compromises in territory sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. But like I said, like a couple of your callers earlier had talked about some issues what they had with their family, like loss and all that. Like a few years ago, I lost both my father and my younger brother in less than a year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is. We don't all live forever, so we just do it when it comes up, But and I guess I gotta say one thing about people with religious beliefs. It does serve a utilitarian purpose. Like for my mother, she is Catholic.
Yeah.
And given how hard it hit her to lose both her husband and her youngest son in such a short amount of time, she really relied heavily on her faith to get her through. Even though I don't believe. But it did help her keep her mostly sane, even though she was having some really hard times. So I do see some utility in it, but but when you're the one but still, I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. I was going with something.
No, that's okay. And I never make the case that there's absolutely no utility in religious faith. Like I know people whose lives have been really profoundly changed and improved by that. But I just think on balance, it's not a good thing overall.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
nice.
That's all I really want to come and say. I just want to
thank you, Steve.
Share my thoughts real quick.
Appreciate that.
No problem. Y'all have a good night.
And you, buddy. All the best.
And I'll stay in the chats for y'all.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, man.
No
Take
problem.
It easy. Thanks.
Take care.
Okay, going to go back to the TikTok side, and we have almost viral. Almost viral. We're bringing in right now. Hey, how you doing?
Yes. I'm good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I spoke to Sean James before. I don't know if he remembers me. Yeah, so
Yeah,
then,
I don't remember our conversation, but I definitely remember your name.
yeah. We spoke like a couple hours before, but God is silly proved me wrong. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay.
In like, do you believe in infinity?
Do I believe?
I'm open to it. So, for example, the universe, if you travel in one direction, what would eventually stop you, or could you just travel in one direction eternally? If, like, let's just say a wall is in the way, well, that wall would be part of the universe, and what would be beyond it would be. So basically, space time would have to like curve in on itself for it not to be infinite. And from what I've heard, cosmologists, the way they speak on it, it appears to be flat. So I'm open to infinity. I can't perceive it. I'm a finite being. So yeah, so I'm very open to infinity. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is the thing. When it comes to infinity, this is where a lot of people that believe in God, they say God is who is infinite, you know? And yeah, that's where it comes from, because I don't think the human brain can comprehend something not being infinite.
But do we need that? Like, so we say God is infinite. What problem does that solve? What question does it answer? What does it explain? What new information does it give us? It sort of, to me, is just like it's like a deepity. It's just like a thing that sounds deep and cool, but doesn't actually really have any utility. What do we understand more about the world around us by saying God is infinite or God is infinity?
Do you know the thing is? It's like, when it comes to nature, yeah. This is the proof for me when it comes to God. When it comes to nature, everything comes from something in all forms of nature. So how can we not comprehend that God is,
What does
he's
God come from?
Does God?
What does
Yeah, I
God
was
come
just going
from?
to ask that.
Okay, so yeah, that's where it stops. Like, where
So not everything,
like,
then, just some things.
but
Why couldn't the universe just be infinite?
but can we? Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to God, yeah, we don't imagine it being like a man sitting on top of the world, that creates everything. It could be a spirit. It could be a
It could be,
yeah. It could
but it could
yeah.
be a
It could
magic.
be.
It could be a magic pancake. But unless we have a reason for thinking it is, then we're just talking about what ifs and could be's, and I just don't think that they're helpful. So you said everything has something that caused it, but the moment we ask, well, what caused God? We're like, well, no, God doesn't have that. So that means not everything has something that caused it. There are some things that don't have a thing that caused it, and if that's the case, why can't, as Sean said, the universe can just be that thing, and we don't need to worry about spirits and magic and stuff like that. It just doesn't
But
really
this is the thing, John.
make
Can you
sense.
comprehend? But this is the thing. Like, something must exist without cause, right? Can
Well,
you comprehend that?
I
Not
don't.
necessarily.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
not
don't know if something can exist without cause, but whether it
But
can or it
something had to
can't,
be. But
whether
something had to be.
it could be
Something
that there's
has to
just an
be.
infinite chain of causes. That could be the case. And if you're saying that there isn't an infinite chain of causes, that chain is terminated at some point, and you're calling that point God, and then you're deciding about the characteristics of that point, that it has a will and that it has a mind and that it's a spirit or that it's a pancake or whatever the attributes that you want to assign to it are, that's all very arbitrary. And I could just as easily say, well, if you get to assert that as a brute fact thing, that's just the end point of all causes, well, the end point of all causes could just be the universe itself. That's the end point of all causes.
But the universe itself could be God himself.
It could be, but so what? To me, that just doesn't add... It doesn't add anything to say the universe could be God, because by God we mean a conscious being, something that acts with some sort of volition, that engages in various interactions. That isn't what the universe does. The universe isn't a conscious being. The universe is just a collection of things.
This is the thing that's funny to me, because if I came across something and I said that thing had no cause, you would say that I'm crazy for saying it.
Depends on what you point to.
Okay, so if I said a table had no cause, you call me crazy, right?
Yeah, because I know how tables are made.
So something so sophisticated like the Earth and the universe, how can I comprehend that
those
has no cause?
well, I'm not saying so things have causes. There might be some things that have no cause at a deeper physics level that's above my pay grade. But let's say everything has a cause. So what? That doesn't mean that a God exists necessarily. We could have an infinite change of causality going back for an infinite amount of time.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, nature shows you that something has to have a cause.
Do you know what the fallacy of composition is?
No, go on.
So the fallacy of composition is when you take attributes that pertain to parts of a system, and then you claim that those attributes pertain to the whole system. So an example would be something like, every brick weighs 2 kilos, therefore the wall weighs 2 kilos, right? Every person in the orchestra is human, therefore the orchestra is human. This is a mistake. It's called a fallacy of composition. So it could be the case that everything within the universe has something that caused it. That doesn't therefore mean that the universe as a whole has that attribute as well. That would be a fallacy of composition.
So it was caused from nothing. Is that what you're saying?
It may not have been caused at all. So what we're doing is we look around us, and in the world we inhabit, in our the presentation of reality that we see, we notice inductively that everything seems to be caused by some other thing. That may be true, but it doesn't follow, just because that's true, that the universe itself is caused by some other thing. It might be that the universe itself has just always been there. There was never a time when the universe didn't exist. And in fact, there's no evidence that there ever was a time that the universe didn't exist.
But how could you comprehend that when everything is caused by something? Like, I don't get it.
Well,
how do you get to that conclusion when everything
I'm not making a conclusion.
Yeah.
I'm not making a conclusion. I'm just saying you're asserting something without demonstrating it. Your assertion is, because everything in the universe appears to be caused by another thing, the universe itself must have been caused by another thing. But that's an assertion that you won't be able to justify. It's something you're just asserting.
When you think about it, the universe, it might be a mistake to refer to the entire universe as a thing itself. When we say the universe, we just mean the collective of all the things that exist, like literally all the things. And so the universe as itself as a thing, as an independent thing, might not even exist. It could basically, what we have here is a collection of things, at minimum, most of which have causes, and you have a chain of cause of events. But, we just collect all the things that exist together and encompass it all and just call everything the universe.
That don't make no sense to me. At the end of the day, your prompt says God is silly, but
yeah,
to religious people, God is the explanation for everything being caused.
And I know that's silly.
But how's that silly when everything is caused? How can that be silly?
We're going around in circles again, because you can't claim that everything is caused, and even if everything
is not caused,
and even if everything is caused, I'm not claiming that there are things that aren't caused. I'm saying I don't know, and you don't know either, and only one of us is making an unfounded assertion about that.
But tell me something that is not caused.
No, I don't think you're tracking. I'm not making the argument that there are things that are not caused. That's not the argument I'm making, right? I'm saying that you can't make the argument that everything is caused, right? So in order for
what is not caused?
No, you're not. Again, try to get this. I know it's a little bit subtle, but for me to say that I don't accept your claim that everything is caused, I don't have to come up with an example of something that isn't caused. I just need to show that you haven't demonstrated that you have a basis for your claim, which you haven't. I don't have to. So if you say, no, I don't. If you say all swans are white, I can say to you, you haven't proved that all swans are white. I don't have to immediately produce a black one. That's not how it works. You're making a claim which you cannot support. And all I'm doing is commenting on the fact that you're making a claim that you cannot support. It's not incumbent on me to provide you with an immediate example of a counter to your claim, because I don't know. I'm saying it's possible that all things are caused. It's possible that some things aren't caused. I don't know. And you don't know either. But only one of us is pretending to know. That's the difference.
No, but you do know that everything is caused.
How are you going to tell John what he knows? I don't know it, and neither does John. You're trying to tell us what we know. Like, you don't have access to our minds.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
know that everything is caused.
So when you say to someone, when you say to somebody, you know that, and then you place your personal opinion there, that's nonsense, right? You don't get to, as Sean said, you don't get to tell us what we know. What you're experiencing now is called personal incredulity. This is you not personally being able to imagine how things could be a different way. That's fine. But your personal incredulity isn't evidence for the claims you're making. It's just evidence for you having personal incredulity.
It's evidence when it's within nature that everything is caused. Of
course, but that's what you're doing is you're using the conclusion you want. You're using the conclusion you want as the argument you're trying to make to firm up the conclusion. That's circular reasoning. It's a bit silly.
Is silly that I'm saying that everything is caused.
Yeah.
And you can't prove that everything is not caused.
Correct.
That's an argument from ignorance fallacy. X is true because you can't prove X false.
Yeah.
So just because John can't disprove your claim doesn't mean that your claim is true. So once again, John and I are not saying there are some things that are not caused. We're saying we have no way of knowing that. You're claiming to know. You have the burden of proof.
So it's 2 + 2 4.
And you've already asserted.
Can I disprove that 2 + 2 is not 4?
Yes.
That does.
Yeah. Wait. Can I disprove that 2 + 2 is 4?
That doesn't mean.
Wait. Can I? Okay. Just yes or no.
No.
Exactly. So why would I make an argument that 2 + 2 might not be 4?
Because that would be a stupid argument, because that argument can be easily disproved.
It's stupid now.
Yeah, because it would be mathematically incorrect and the argument could be easily disproved. But it's disanalogous to this situation, because you making a statement that everything is caused whilst also simultaneously making the statement that there are some things that aren't caused, like gods, is firstly self-contradictory, and secondly, it's not the same type of statement as an analytical truth, which is to say 2 + 2 = 4 is necessarily true by definition. It's a totally different category of statement. I'm not sure that this is going to be a productive conversation, because I'm not sure you're tracking. I say that respectfully.
You're arguing with me that there might be some things that might not be caused, but you have no evidence for it, right?
Correct.
Almost, yeah. So we're not arguing that some things are uncaused. We're saying we don't know if there are some uncaused things in the universe. We don't have a way to know that. You're claiming nothing is uncaused, and so the burden of proof is on you to substantiate that. It could be that the universe itself is uncaused.
Think about it like this. Imagine if I said to you, there are no Chinese people called Gavin, right? If I made that statement to you right now, would you believe me? If I said there are no Chinese people called Gavin?
I don't know. No,
right. Now imagine if I asserted this and I said, you are obligated to accept my claim unless you can produce a Chinese person called Gavin right now. That would be a stupid argument on my part, right? It would be a fallacious argument because I would be implying that you are obligated to accept my claim unless you can produce a counter to it immediately. That isn't how the burden of proof works. You are making a claim. First of all, your claim, as I said before, is actually self-contradictory because you're saying everything is caused, everything has a cause, except the things that I don't want to have a cause. That's your position currently.
If we was in court and you said what you said, would what you say, would it hold? Yes or no?
It would, because courts have a healthy respect for the
evidence for
courts have a healthy respect for the burden of proof, which is why people in criminal cases don't get innocent verdicts. They get guilty or not guilty. Not guilty doesn't mean the jury found the person innocent. It means that they are recognizing that the prosecution didn't meet their burden of proof, which is what you're failing to do now too. You're not meeting the burden implied by the claims you're making. It's not incumbent on us to come up with examples to the
But you have no
contrary.
examples at all.
We don't need them.
You don't need an example.
Nope.
Correct. We don't need an correct.
So this is like a belief. It becomes like a belief, right?
Let me spell it out for you. If we claimed some things are uncaused, then we have a burden of proof, and then we need to provide examples. We're saying we don't know. You're making a claim. Every claim I make, I promise you, I accept my burden of proof. For example, I believe in evolution. You may not. I'm not going to sidetrack us down that rabbit hole, but I will accept I have the burden of proof to demonstrate my claim that evolution is a fact of biology. So you're making a positive claim. Put your big boy pants on and accept your burden of proof and prove that all things in the universe, at the quantum level, the universe itself, everything in the universe has a cause. You have the burden of proof if you're making that claim.
Well, scientific.
If you can't prove it, then I don't know what to tell you. That's your problem.
Well, science itself proves that everything has a cause.
Okay, are you a scientist?
I'm not. I'm asking you. You believe in science fully. Is anything in science? I'm not a physicist. This would be an
I can give you an example. I can give you an
ahead.
example of something in science which doesn't appear to have a direct cause. So when a particle when a radioisotope has radioactive decay, you don't know which particular atoms are going to decay. You just know that some of them will. And the emission of radioactive particles doesn't appear to have an immediate cause. You just know that statistically, over a certain number of amount of time, a certain number of those particles are going to decay. But they don't seem to have a direct cause. Now, some people would say maybe they do and we just don't know what it is. But the unpredictability of that is kind of baked in. That's kind of what quantum mechanics is about.
All right. Okay. This is a funny argument, man. I have no evidence of something not having a cause, but that don't mean I have evidence of that's weird.
But as I said, and we will pull this to a close now, because I think we're going around the same merry-go-round, round and round and round, and I think it's going to not be very interesting for people. But even if we were to grant that everything in the universe does have a cause, let's say for argument's sake we do grant that, that doesn't get you to the universe had a cause, and you are quite comfortable with things existing that don't have a cause. You've already said it. You think God doesn't have a cause. So your claim that everything has a cause is in opposition to your claim that some things don't have causes. So your position is untenable logically at this point. So you might want to go away and have a think about how to resolve that contradiction, because at the moment you're holding a contrary, like illogical position. You're holding two claims that can't be both true.
No, but that's where I say is a belief. But you saying God is silly,
Yeah,
Your prompt says God is silly.
It's deeply silly.
It's not silly when everything has a cause, but okay. All right.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in to speak to us. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Take care. Okay. I think it was definitely time to get off that merry-go-round. We're going to get in reckless religion. I know we have David waiting again, so we will aim to get David back in as well.
So poor David. David, thanks for your patience.
Yeah,
I don't know if he can hear me.
He can. Third time lucky. Okay, so let's get reckless religion in and see where we're going with that.
Reckless religion. You know her, right?
Sean, didn't I see you earlier today? I don't know, on my life. Oh my God. One of my favorite people. John,
thank
how
you.
are you, my
I don't
friend?
deserve that. Thank you. I'm doing well. Reckless has Reckless. She actually does some great lives. She discusses religion, particularly Christianity, and LGBT friendliness. She's an advocate for equal treatment and all that good stuff.
Good.
She hosts some great lives, and please give her a follower and come say hi to her on her live as well.
Yeah, the crash outs have been wild. Some guy is actually supposedly going to Jerusalem. See, he screenshotted me and said that he's going to Jerusalem to talk to St. Michael about me. So I hope that conversation goes well with him.
Excellent.
Saint Michael. Isn't Saint Michael a saint, a guardian saint or protector?
Apparently, if you go back into my video, I clipped it was a part 1 and part 2 of the video, and he went like on this tangent. It's funnier than hell. Like it's yeah. I think they let him out of the loony bin, and they need to put him back in and leash him up a little bit tighter. But hey, what do I know? How are you, John?
Very well indeed. Yeah, I'd be better if I had a more stable internet connection tonight. I reckon there's mice chewing the cables or something, but so far it's holding okay. So I nearly gave up before.
Right? I see your prompt that says God is silly.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're right, because he is silly. It is a silly. It's very silly. Like these people are silly the way that they weaponize sin and they weaponize the Bible and they just thump it on people and they don't use love anymore. That's kind of weird, but yet they say Jesus loves you.
Yeah, and I don't want to overgeneralize. Like there are people of faith who are loving and are kind and are thoughtful, and I'm always wary of tarring people. But I do think that there's a problem baked into the doctrine, which is unresolvable without abandoning the whole doctrine, and that's the idea that people deserve to be punished for the contents of their minds that they can't help.
There is a guy that I follow, and actually I have 3 really great content creators that I follow who are true Christians. BK the Trucker is 1, Kate, Daughter of the King, is 2, and Grumpy Wombat is 3. Amazing true Christians who are so non-judgmental. They are all about the teachings of Jesus. And people think that I hate Christians. I don't hate Christians. Like, I can get along with Christians all day long, but it's true Christians that I can get along with. It's not these self-righteous hypocrites who think that they can use, gaslight, dictate how people should live, weaponize sin, weaponize the Bible, all that stuff. And I think, because it sits in our voting booths, and they like to use that, and now they think that they can use that to sit there and tell people, well, you can't have that in our schools. Then you can't sit there and tell women what to do with their bodies.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think we're all in
wild.
agreement here. Yeah, and people want to have their own personal faith and their own personal beliefs. That's absolutely fine. I really don't care what anyone believes. I really don't care at all. It's
Right.
when those beliefs impact other people in a negative way that we have a
Yeah.
problem, and that is
Yep.
something I'm very concerned about.
Yeah, and it harms people who want to simply exist. And especially like those people, the LGBTQ people, like they are just living their lives and, being people and, but yet we're supposed to accept this deity when the majority of people who claim to be Christian can't accept a group of people who simply want to exist. So how does it run? Like,
Yeah.
what you want us to accept your deity? Well, then you start accepting a group of people who simply want to exist.
And here's the thing, Reckless. I've seen some more friendly Christians on your live who are kind of berating the Christians who are aggressive toward gay people, and
Yeah.
we need to be like Jesus and have a nicer and kinder approach. But almost inevitably, they still believe gay relationships are a sin. So I kind of look at it in the same light as, imagine a Christian or somebody of religion X that says, I'm going to be kind and gentle and treat with warmth people who are in interracial relationships, but it's a sin. Love the sinner, hate the sin. I don't really approve of them, but I'm still going to be nice to.
Absolutely.
I'm still going to be nice to them, and I don't see a substantive difference. And I know a lot of Christians will come on here. There's a big difference, blah blah blah. We can have that debate, but
Yeah.
From my standpoint, bigotry is bigotry, and if it could be soft and kind and gentle, you still don't approve. You still think that their relationship is an abomination under God. So.
Yeah, and I've always thought that like that hate the sin, love the sinner thing doesn't work, because if you love someone, you don't call them a sinner. If you love someone, you
Right.
don't denigrate them for being who they are, for loving who they love, for living how they want to live. They're not hurting anyone else. So that whole thing breaks as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it works at all.
No. It's just there's just too much weaponization wrapped around religion, and these people sit there and tell me all the time, well, don't follow religion, follow God. Okay, but you're still following a religion at the end of the day. You're still following
Yeah.
a Bible. You're still following a religion. Like, I mean, how do you not understand that you're still following a religion at the end of the day, no matter what God you follow? Whether
Yeah.
it's a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, there's how many religions out there in the world. You're still following it if you're
For
going
sure.
to church, So,
Yeah, I don't have a religion, I have a relationship, right? But your relationship
Yeah.
Oh.
involves all these overtly religious practices like prayer and going to buildings and singing songs and and thinking about salvation and souls and spirits
Yeah.
and a creator.
Like my dad's back in the hospital. So this is another thing that bothers me, that on my last live, I was exhausted listening to this guy, and I was trying to be as nice as possible, but it was starting to trigger me in a most wild way, because when he was talking about, being joyful in your suffering, and I'm like, yep, here we go. I don't like that. And I don't like that for the fact that why should we be happy while we're going through something so evidently painful? Why should my dad be happy that he's on a breathing machine again? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand what is so, like, if you want to live happily in your suffering, go ahead, but why the fuck should other people? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just wild. I don't understand it. So, yeah. And
Well, Thanks for coming
but
by to
yeah,
say hi. We appreciate that, Reckless.
thank you. Yeah,
I've given
go
you
ahead.
a
I was
follow.
just,
I'll come and check out your
all
your stuff
right,
too.
you're amazing. Thank you, Sean,
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you
Of
tomorrow,
course.
maybe. All right.
For sure.
Take care. Thanks.
Have
All
a
right, you
great night.
too.
Thanks. Okay, that was good. Excellent. Well, I promised David that we would get him back in, so I think we must do that. And hopefully the tech will work this time, and it will all be okay. Welcome back.
What's up, man?
Hey.
We survived the interwebs.
I was mad, absolutely mad. I'm primed for it to just suddenly end again. So I've just been warning people. If it ends a third time, I'm done. I'm giving up. Not forever, just for tonight.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, I gather from Sean, you and he ended up like having a really productive conversation on your own when the live crashed. But where were we in terms of like reorienting in the discussion? I think. Yeah, go
What I
ahead.
was going to say is I don't remember exactly. I do remember key point Sean was bringing up.
Yeah.
I actually didn't want to hold you guys long, and I told Sean this. I was like, my background's in audio engineering and computer programming. So if you ever want to maybe troubleshoot the
Thank you.
stream thing, I'd
That's
be happy to help you. Seriously.
very kind of you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. How can I reach you? You could actually, I mean, if that's a genuine offer, because I am trying to figure out a few kind of things. Funnily enough, I have a background in audio engineering as well,
cool.
but trying to get all of these various apps talking to each other in the right way, it's definitely a thing. Yeah, I mean, if you mean that, I would be very grateful. You can reach out to me, drop me an email or something. It's John at unconvincedbook.com.
Hold on, let me
Yeah,
write that
and
down.
thanks, man. I really appreciate that, David. Thank you. That's very kind.
Of course, man. John at unconvincedbook.com. All right, I'll send you an email in just a little bit.
Thank you. That's really, really kind. I mean, I'm kind of okay. It's kind of working. There's just like little bits of routing and stuff, and I'm aware that I could possibly be doing things better. So
it's like audio engineering. It's troubleshooting upon troubleshooting.
Hang on. Sean, are you there? Because I can see you metering, but weirdly, I can't hear you.
Me?
Sean.
Oh, I hear Sean. Well, maybe that's, he's kind of attesting to, he was just saying what the general problems are, and then we actually experience it. But
oh yeah. No, the crosstalk between guests now, I'm able to, because I log into VDO specifically directly, but people that just pop up on YouTube, and then if we have someone popped up on TikTok, they can't talk to each other. So that's what we can go over all that, or you and John can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's really kind, David.
Course,
Thank you.
Of course. And I wanted to encourage you that, like, I think what I started on when I first came on was saying that I think this is a great community to kind of talk about these things, because these things are very well, what I've heard you guys talking about, I'm sure it's a wide gambit of things, but I think the issues that people dealt with is real. And I don't know if this part really matters. I mean, again, the initial thing when I found you is God silly? And I don't think it, me personally thinking God is Jesus, I think there's one thing that we at least can agree on at the thought, and if he's real or not is irrelevant. But like, he really hated religious hypocrisy, like constantly. And I think that's the part of the problem. So yeah, but I'm also extremely tired, so I don't know if I can hold a conversation with anyone.
Let's draw a line. I'm glad at least you could come back to say goodbye properly. Sure. And it was really nice talking to you. I really appreciate your manner and stuff. So there's always time for respectful conversations here, and we really appreciate people like you. So come back again, and we'll pick up some other topic. We don't always run God is silly. We do all sorts of things, and
I imagine.
It'd be interesting to see, I imagine we'll have very different views on a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean we can't have productive conversations around them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you guys have a good one, and I'll send you email.
Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate you. Thanks, man.
You too, David. Great talking to you again.
Take care. Sir. Thanks. Okay, staying on the YouTube side, we're going to bring in a groovy man right now. Hey, how you doing?
I think you need to unmute him.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was atheist for a long time. And then when I was 23, that's when I came to Christ. It's been 7 years. and I can honestly say that God is very real, and I would say he's funny, but I wouldn't say that he is silly.
Well, I mean, okay. Imagine if you were the creator of the universe and you had, decided on the physical constants, set the strong and weak gravitational forces, structured the entire universe, created planets from accretion disks, designed the genomes for every living thing on Earth, and all of that kind of stuff. Would you consider it to be a priority to pass legislation ensuring that people have the maximum clarity on what needs to happen to a woman's hand if she reaches into a fight between two men and grabs one of them by the balls?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm trying to kind of understand what you said. So, should there be legislation of
would that be a priority for the creator of the universe to make sure that everyone was very clear on knowing what needs to happen to a woman's hand if she reaches into a fight between two men and grabs one of them by the junk?
That's a very good question. I wouldn't say that God would necessarily have the direct control there, or that he would have implanted just that automatic wisdom and understanding morally to just everybody. So I mean, I believe that God definitely supports that, and he would want there to be something to protect women, but he definitely doesn't have control over all the people who are going to decide that.
But he would protect the women by cutting their hand off if they do that. Would that be the protection?
No, I don't think God would support.
It's Deuteronomy 25, 11 through 12.
Okay,
11 through 12.
It's here on the screen.
If men get into a fight with one another and the wife of one intervenes to rescue her husband from the grip of his opponent by reaching out and seizing his genitals, you shall cut off her hand, show no pity. And I got to give God credit. In my younger years, I've been in a few fights. Not one time has a woman reached out and grabbed me by the genitals to protect her husband. So maybe there's some wisdom to this.
It just strikes me as so specific.
Like, God was concerned about this. This was so concerning. Like, the creator of the universe, if two men are fighting, I'm really worried that the spouse is going to grab the other man's genitals. So cut off her hand and show no pity. Do you really think that was written or inspired by the creator of the universe?
Absolutely. Okay. I wouldn't support that sort of law happening today, and Jesus himself wouldn't have either.
Well, I mean, we can get into the morality of his law, but at the moment we're still in the sort of silly phase. I mean, there are so many silly things about this. Like, he was frightened of iron chariots. He lost a wrestling match. He, the whole silly setup in the Garden of Eden with kind of putting the greatest wisdom of humanity in fruit rather than in books or tablets or computers or anything like that. He decides to encode the wisdom in fruit. I mean, you surely can see why someone from outside the system would look in and go, that's a bit silly. I mean, to be fair, that is properly silly.
Oh, for him to put the knowledge of good and evil in fruit?
Yeah, it's a complete bullshit. Like, it's so ridiculously silly. And then for him to allow us to allow a talking serpent into the garden to go and tempt his creations, who he knew were going to get tempted anyway. The whole story is completely silly.
I don't think it is. Because if you really think about it, it's like God didn't create us just to be just robots that have to just worship and praise him. He created us to be, our own beings. He created us in his likeness.
What happens to
God?
What happens to people in heaven who commit adultery?
people don't commit adultery in
They
heaven,
don't.
and
What
they
about
can't.
people who
They
commit
don't have sexual
violent
parts in heaven. They don't have reproductive
violent?
organs.
What about people who lie in heaven and deceive
People
each
who
other?
lie?
Yeah,
If people sin in heaven,
Yeah.
they will be thrown out.
they get
I don't
chucked out.
believe in any sin.
So
So there's beings in heaven right now who have been there for who knows how long, longer than men have been on earth, who have never sinned. So God is able to create free-willed creatures who choose not to sin, right? Why didn't he
Yes,
do that with
100%.
Adam and Eve?
Why didn't he do that with Adam and Eve?
Right.
He did, or he gave us the choice. You know, he gave Adam and Eve the choice to choose between good and evil, between
Well,
him
he
and their
gave
own way.
them sinless angels in heaven the same thing. And if God has complete foreknowledge, why didn't he just create two free-willed humans who would do the same thing and have free will but choose not to sin? Was he powerful enough to do that?
Well, he is actually. He is
Okay.
powerful enough
so he
to
just
do that.
so he
with
just
him.
chose not to, which
Yeah,
is
he
silly.
wanted. So he wanted them to eat of the apple then, because
No,
if he has
he
perfect
wanted them to have
foreknowledge,
the choice.
well, yeah, just like they have the choice to sin in heaven, but there's like countless angels who have never sinned. If God is powerful enough to do that, why didn't he do that on earth? So if he has perfect foreknowledge, he specifically chose a version of Adam and Eve that he knew would eat of the apple and said, yep, this is the world I want to create, right?
No, it's nothing like that. It wasn't like, oh, I need to make a perfect Adam and Eve, and then I'm going to get them to eat the apple. He created these two beings, and
That
they
he
had
knew would eat the
complete
apple,
freedom.
right?
He knows the end from the beginning.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So and he's all powerful, so he could have,
Yes, he is.
like, if he was capable of creating angels in heaven who have free will that will never sin, it stands to follow he's capable, having perfect foresight, of creating an Adam and Eve who have free will that will not eat the apple, but he chose a version who would.
Well,
By the
that's
way,
not free
I
will.
just thought of
If you
another
just
funny
choose,
thing. You know
that's
when
not
you
free will.
said that, like, if you're in heaven and you sin, you get thrown out. Imagine if you've been in heaven for like 500 billion years. You've really got it going on. You've got some projects going on. You're learning to paint. You've taught yourself 6,000 languages. You play 150 instruments. You've got it all going on in heaven. You live in a lovely heavenly mansion. It's all good. Then one day, your wife says to you, "Do I look good in these trousers?" You're like, "Darling, they look amazing on you." And you know they don't really. They're not the best for her, but you love her and you don't want to hurt her feelings. Suddenly, boom, down in hell with
Ooh.
Beelzebub and all
Lord,
his
no.
minions, and like that would be such a bummer and also very, very silly. The whole
It
setup
would.
is
It
the whole
would.
setup is silly, right? The whole the
I
whole
don't think
setup is silly. The whole thing is built on a foundation of silliness, made out of silly
not.
bricks with silly windows and a roof made of silly tiles. That's what this
Absolutely
house is. Like, it's so ludicrous that God makes the whole world. He fills it full of people, and then it turns out that completely unbeknownst to him, they don't behave nicely towards each other. So he thinks, I know what I'll do. I'm going to drown everyone. Not I'm going to just like rewind time and architect it differently, not just, set the parameters of reality differently so that all the beings, as Sean said, still have free will, but they treat each other nicely and there's no wickedness. No, he doesn't do that. He decides he needs to destroy it all, and the best way he can come up with doing it is drowning everything, like drowning all the babies and the kittens and the reindeer and all the little animals. So he drowns them all because that's going to solve the problem. Then the world gets repopulated with people and they're just as bad again. So all of that drowning was for nothing. Like, dude, this is nuclear level
I see
silly,
your thinking.
right? This is completely silly. And then he says, right, because I'm about to kill all the life on Earth, my suggestion for how to preserve it is I get a man to build a boat that technically cannot exist. Like a boat with those dimensions made of wood is physically impossible. It cannot exist. There's not a boat making company in the world right now that could build a ship of those dimensions made of wood that would be seaworthy. But a man, a man of several hundred years old, is able to do it on his own, he does that, and then he gathers all the animals, like, you know, the koalas somehow make their way over to Mesopotamia from Australia, and the Antarctic penguins manage to cross oceans somehow by some sort of magic and get to Mesopotamia, and all these animals go into the boat. Depending on which verse you read, either 2 of each or 14 of each, 7 pairs, right? And then they all go to sea. You would need something like 6 or 7 aircraft carriers just to keep the food supplies to keep this population of animals going. But no, they're all in Noah's wooden boat for a year with apparently like one window or something like that. Like the methane from all the animals, all of this stuff. Come on, it's ridiculous. You know it is.
Oh no, I really don't think so. I love everything that you just said. When it comes to heaven, if I'm in heaven, and let me just say, first of all, there is no marriage in heaven. So those who do go to heaven, they will be like the angels. They will be without reproductive organs. They will not be.
That doesn't sound like fun. An eternity without my no, count me out. I'm not doing that. No. I like my reproductive organs. I don't want to give them up forever. No, I'm not doing that. That is silly. Come on. You're not selling it, dude.
Am I like a Ken doll in heaven?
Like a Ken doll. It's all just perfectly smooth. Yeah.
Oh, God.
But not silly at all.
No.
Yeah, so, yeah, people who go there, they will not, they won't be wearing weird clothes where you'd have to make a white lie about them or something like that. Those who go to heaven will be dressed in like perfected like heavenly clothing that's like unique to them and stuff like that.
That covers all the bits they don't have perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
And when it comes to the
sounds
Noah
aspirational.
and the ark, you see, the thing is, when you do God's will, then there is strength behind. There's spiritual strength in miraculous power behind that. So there's miraculous things that can happen. So
you can make magic boats. You can make magic boats. Yeah.
If he wanted to, he could.
You believe in magic. I know. Come on.
I don't believe in that. Well, I believe that magic is deceptive and not legitimate, but it is a real, deceptive practice that Satan uses.
Satan uses it.
So you believe in real magic, not like David Copperfield magic, but real magic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's real.
Okay. So let's pivot slightly, because I mean, we could talk about the silliness all day, and what will happen is Sean and I are going to go, that's silly, and you're going to say it's not silly, and okay, so fair enough. So, but let's talk about something slightly different. Are you familiar with the trial by poison in the Book of Numbers that women have to endure if a man even just suspects them of being unfaithful?
Not being a virgin?
Not a virgin, of being unfaithful. If the man just suspects them of being unfaithful, are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Do you think that law, as proposed from God through Moses to Israel, was a good law?
I believe that it was.
Okay. Can I share it with the audience, because not everyone will be familiar with it. So with your indulgence, I'm going to share it with the audience, and then we can talk about it together and see whether we think it's a good law. Because I genuinely have some major problems with this. So here it is, right? So this is concerning an unfaithful wife. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if any man's wife goes astray and is unfaithful to him, if a man has had intercourse with her, but it's hidden from her husband, so she is undetected, though she has defiled herself, and there's no witness against her, since she was not caught in the act, or if a spirit of jealousy has come on him, and he is jealous of his wife who has defiled herself, or," and here's where it gets interesting, "if a spirit of jealousy comes on him, and he is jealous of his wife, though she has not defiled herself, in other words, the man's feeling jealous but the wife's done nothing wrong, then this is what happens. The man shall bring his wife to the priest, and he shall bring the offering required for her. That's going to be some grain or something. 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour. He shall pour no oil on it and put no frankincense on it, for it's a grain offering of jealousy, a grain offering of remembrance, bringing iniquity to remembrance. Okay, then it gets a little bit weird and creepy. So then the priest shall bring her near and set her before the Lord. The priest shall take the holy water in an earthen vessel and take some of the dust that is on the floor of the tabernacle and put it into the water. So the priest is putting dirt into the water. The priest shall set the woman before the Lord, dishevel the woman's hair, and place in her hands the grain offering of remembrance. So he's reducing her dignity by messing up her hair and making her look disheveled, right? He's basically publicly stealing, the priest is publicly stealing the dignity of this woman. Then he puts the grain in her hands, and in his own hand the priest shall have the water of bitterness that brings the curse. Then the priest shall make her take an oath, saying, if no man has lain with you, if you have not turned aside to uncleanliness while under your husband's authority, be immune to this water of bitterness that brings the curse. But if you have gone astray while under your husband's authority, if you have defiled yourself and some man other than your husband has had intercourse with you, then let the priest make the woman take the oath of the curse and say to the woman, the Lord make you an execration and an oath among your people when the Lord makes your uterus drop, your womb discharge. Now may this water that brings the curse enter your bowels and make your womb discharge and your uterus drop, and the woman shall say amen. Then the priest shall put these curses in writing, so he's going to write them down with ink, and wash them off into the water of bitterness. He shall make the woman drink the water of bitterness that brings the curse, and the water that brings the curse shall enter her and cause bitter pain. The priest shall take the grain offering of jealousy out of the woman's hand, and shall elevate the grain offering before the Lord, and bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take a handful of the grain offering, and blah, 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 and smoke and stuff, and all the rest of it. When he has made her drink the water, then if she has defiled herself, and has been unfaithful, the water that brings the curse shall enter into her, and cause bitter pain, and her womb shall discharge, her uterus drop, and the woman shall become an execration among her people. But if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, then she shall be immune and be able to conceive children. So in other words, if she's cheated on her husband, then drinking this poison ink water will basically destroy her reproductive organs. But if she's behaved herself, somehow this won't happen. Which is obviously completely ludicrous. This is the law in case of jealousy, when a wife, while under her husband's authority, goes astray and defiles herself, or when a spirit of jealousy comes on a man and he is jealous of his wife. Then he shall set the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall apply this entire law to her, blah, blah, blah. Now, the way I read this is as actually one of the most horrific things in the whole Bible, because this only applies to women, right? There's no equivalent test for a wife who suspects her husband of being unfaithful. It only goes this way, which speaks to the misogyny of the whole setup. And she has
the woman is for man, and man is for God.
Well, yeah, I mean that's horrific in itself, but the woman has no presumption of innocence here, right? She is ritually humiliated and harmed in front of the congregation. She's made to drink poisoned water with dirt from the floor and ink on. There's no presumption of innocence or due process or anything like that. Bear in mind, all has to happen to her just if he feels a bit jealous. That's the only condition under which she is subjected to this horrible, humiliating, painful procedure, which has to happen to her even if she's completely innocent. She still has to go through this ordeal. It's like the ordeal itself is the punishment just for being accused, not for actually having done anything wrong. And then the husband explicitly faces absolutely no consequences at all for falsely accusing her. At least in Deuteronomy 22, in the virginity test, he would have to pay some money to the father of his bride he didn't like if he accused her of not being a virgin, and then it could be demonstrated by blood on a sheet that she was a virgin. Well, he'd have to pay something. In this instance, he is completely free, no penalty, nothing at all, no compensation, no recognition of the fact that he's falsely accused her. Don't you think this is horrible?
I can see how you can have that sort of perspective, but I don't think that it would be horrible. And let me tell you why. It's because, first of all, when you're with someone, you're married with someone, and if when it comes to jealousy, one thing that it says in the Bible about jealousy is who can stand before jealousy. It can be such a powerful emotion or feeling, more than anger. And so
that's his problem. Why should she pay the price for his hurty feelings by having to be ritually humiliated in front of the congregation and being made to drink poison water? So would that be okay nowadays?
If he's jealous of her, this is a way to check to make sure, okay, I'm kind of suspicious. Jealousy can destroy a relationship.
So let me just clarify. Let's just clarify what we're saying. Hang on a sec. Let's clarify what we're saying here. So if I feel jealous of my wife now today, if I think I'm feeling jealous of my wife, am I entitled to ritually humiliate her in front of her peers and make her drink water with dirt from the floor on it? Would that be okay for me to do that morally?
No, and the reason why is
not?
Because the law of the Lord, help me think right now, the Torah, the law that's in there, that's the God's attempt at first to help people to get back, to return to him spiritually, and to experience the life that he has for them.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question. I'm saying morally we have a problem here, because you're trying to defend a woman being hurt, and let's not kid ourselves here. This is a woman being made to drink poison and be ritually humiliated in front of her peers. So she's going to be hurt physically by having to do this, and she's going to be humiliated and hurt emotionally by this absolutely horrendous experience. Your argument is that it's okay for this to be done to her because jealousy is a powerful emotion that a man might have.
Nope.
Make that not sound completely... But that is kind of what you said. That is basically what you said.
Really not. But the law, we don't do stuff like they did back then. Jesus,
but I'm asking you if it was right back then. But was it right?
Oh yeah, it was.
Right.
And the reason why, like I said, jealousy is part of it. Get rid of the jealousy. Find out the truth about whether your wife is, doing these things. But you also have to consider the moral dilemma. It's like if you're living in sin, you're living a lifestyle of sin. What we believe as Christians is you will burn in eternity.
Hang on. You're ignoring the case where she's literally done absolutely nothing wrong, and he's just an insecure asshole. Make a case for me why it would have been morally correct for women to be ritually humiliated and hurt because their husbands were insecure assholes, because that's what this is. Explain why that's morally okay. Because this is way beyond silly. This is actually really horrific. It's pretty shocking to hear you defend this. So explain the moral logic there. Why is it okay to hurt women because men feel insecure? Or why was it okay?
It's not like that now, but back
no.
in the
Why
day,
was it okay then?
If she was innocent, then she wasn't gonna, succumb to the poison.
She was still put through a humiliating experience and made to drink water with dirt in it. That's completely disgusting.
Well, you see, God takes marriage seriously. And like I said, you really can't underestimate jealousy. When you have jealousy in a relationship and you're, suspicious that this person, might be cheating on you and it just lingers, it's not good. So
Why
it's a
didn't it
check.
go both ways?
That's his problem. That's a him
Why didn't
problem.
it go both ways? If the woman's jealous, he has to drink cursed water and his ding-a-ling
Oh, he's already
falls
answered
off.
that because women are less than men. Women answer to men, and men answer to to God.
They're not
Which
less, but they are
they're
a
less.
weaker vessel.
They're weaker and they're less.
Physically,
Yeah,
so,
less.
so they're physically weaker on average. So therefore, the men don't have to go. There's not equality going on there.
There's not equality. Yeah, there's equality.
Really? Do women have to submit to their husbands?
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
So
Because
how is
of
that
what
equality? How is it equality if women have to submit to their husbands?
Because they're equal in God's eyes. God loves all of us equally with the same
So
love.
God loves all, but in the marriage, the man is in charge of the woman. So is that equality? Is that equality?
This is not going well for you.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. This is terrible. I mean, we started off the beginning.
No, they're equal people. Just because I have a manager doesn't mean we're that they have more value as a human.
Yeah, if you have a manager, that's a hierarchy where you have a lower status than your manager. That's what a hierarchy is. That's why marriages are not employment contracts. They don't. My wife is not my manager, and I'm not her manager. We are co-equal partners in a relationship where we figure things out together, and we both understand that we are of equal status and nobody submits to anybody else. So for you to say they're equal in the eyes of God, that doesn't help her if the expectation is that there's a gender-based hierarchy being imposed onto her. And this ridiculous notion of this, the man feels jealous, so the woman has to go through this horrific, humiliating sequence of having to drink dirty water and have her hair disheveled and be ritually humiliated in front of her peers because he felt insecure, and you're defending that. That's remarkable. I mean, that's really quite amazing.
Well, you have a really good play on words. You make it sound like, oh, you defend that right now. It's like, no, I don't.
No, you're saying you thought it was right. Yeah, you thought it was right in the past. Well, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since then. And I'll tell you what: if it's wrong now, it was wrong back then for all the same reasons. The reasons why it's wrong now, is because a man's jealousy is his fucking problem. It's not the woman's problem if his little hurty feels got sore. It's his problem to work out on his own, and it's wrong to make people suffer because of a man's jealousy. We understand that intuitively now. And guess what? That was true last year. And it was true the year before. It was true 100 years ago. And it was true 2,000 years ago. It didn't magically stop being true just because it was the olden days. That's ludicrous and asinine and silly. Come on, you know
It's really not. It's completely changed. You just don't understand what Jesus did. He came.
I don't understand what Jesus did. So Jesus, before Jesus came along, it was right for men to insist that women go through this horrible ritual, and for God, who is, by the way, Jesus.
Yeah,
so this was Jesus's law. So before Jesus came along, it was okay for Jesus to ritually humiliate women, and then after Jesus came along, it just randomly stopped being okay. And that sounds like a serious argument you're making with a straight face.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Okay. I'm fairly impressed. That, I mean, I'm waiting for you to go, just kidding, but you appear to not be. Tens of thousands of people all over the internet are going to be furiously typing Poe's law to try and figure out whether this is for real or if it's a parody, because no morally sensible person can maintain the position you are currently describing.
Completely untrue. No, I completely disagree with you.
I know you can, but you can't defend your argument in anything like a coherent moral way. All we've heard is babbling about Jesus and when he came along and stuff like that, and how important it was for God.
Because you take the whole conversation. You don't let me speak much. You kind of take the reins of it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you now a space to make an argument for why it was morally acceptable for women to be ritually humiliated because their husbands felt insecure. Go for it.
Sure. Okay, so like I said, part of it was the jealousy part, but I'm going to skip that. What I want to focus on is sin. Sin is very serious. And if, as a leader, as the husband, you want to protect your family, you want to protect your wife, you not just physically, mentally, and emotionally, but also spiritually. And so at that time, there was no, the Holy Spirit hadn't come down to baptize people. The law was failing. People were not able to be godlike, and that's why Jesus came, is so that he could save us, give us a new nature, so that we aren't just trying to follow a set of rules that we just that we can't really successfully do.
Okay, was that enough time for you to make your case?
No,
you need more. Because I'm going to tell you, every word you just said did not do anything to answer the question of why was it morally okay for a woman to be hurt and richly humiliated because of her husband's insecurity. Not a single word. So you could speak for another 5 minutes with more words that don't answer that question, and that's where we'll be in another 5 minutes. Everything you said was a complete non sequitur with respect to the question I asked. Do you want to try again? Do you want to try again?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's try again. And I want you to frame it for me like this. I want you to say it was okay for women to be hurt and humiliated in front of their peers because of men's insecurity, because, and then finish the sentence.
Well, it wasn't insecurity; it was jealousy. A spirit of jealousy.
Okay, so say that for me again then. So I want you to say it was okay for women to be hurt and humiliated because of their husband's jealousy, because, and then finish the sentence.
It's okay for women to be hurt and humiliated by their husbands just because the spirit of jealousy came upon them. Yes.
Because
that is that's how God wanted to crack down on sin. That's how he wants to crack down on adultery. That's how he wants to expose the truth in marriages so that, our eyes aren't shut to what's actually happening. And so, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of tired right now, but I'm trying to remember the rest of what I was going to say. But
do you think you provided an adequate response to my question?
I'm honestly, I just got off work and I'm trying to remember what your question was. I'm not.
My question was, why is it okay for women to be hurt because of men's jealousy? It's not a complicated question. I guarantee there's not a single person listening to this that thinks that you even answered it at all, let alone whether it was a good answer.
Well, that's okay. People lack understanding.
It's our lack of understanding. Okay, I'm glad we clarified that.
Yeah,
okay.
People lack understanding and wisdom.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
lack of understanding and wisdom. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know where else we can go from here. You've defended something absolutely disgusting. I was kind of hoping that when I brought up this chapter and verse, I was kind of hoping you were going to go, yeah, I know that is horrendously sucky, and it really, really troubles me, and I don't rest easy, considering that the God I claim to worship, created this absolute legislative monstrosity. It really, really plays hard on me. But you didn't do that. You seem to be thinking it was a good thing. In fact, not seem, you did say it was a good thing, and then you tried to provide some kind of moral justification for innocent women being hurt by talking about stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with the innocent women being hurt. But, I guess if you've had a long day at work and, your brain is a bit not at its best, we can make allowances for that. But I can't help but wonder, had you been on peak performance there, that the argument wouldn't have been substantially different.
Well, the thing is, sin is so serious. If someone is, sinning, someone's committing adultery.
Gotta hurt those innocent women. The only remedy to gotta hurt those innocent women.
Dealt with, because at that time we didn't have, what we have now, the Holy Spirit regenerating us and helping us to be like Jesus, to be good. At that time, we didn't have that, and so we really had to crack down.
Just
and
got to
you had be
crack down
afraid.
on those
The fear of
innocent
God.
women. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you
Because,
hurt
okay, let me
innocent,
ask you something. Let me ask you a
yeah,
question.
unless you hurt
Do you
innocent
think,
women,
wait.
sin is a
Do
real
you
problem.
think this process, do you think that it would be better for a woman to go through this process or to burn in hell for eternity? Which one do you think is better?
I think a better answer is neither. Are you a fucking psychopath? Would be my response to response to that question. Neither of those options.
Are not going to answer
It reminds me of kids who say,
You're just not gonna answer it. That makes sense.
Well, no, that is my answer. Is neither of those.
Yeah, you just chose not to answer.
No, I gave you the answer. If you're presenting it like those are the only two options. Those are the only two options.
Which one's best?
Well, obviously, if you had to choose one between being eternally tortured forever and having to drink, poisoned ink water and be humiliated and have your hair messed up, you'd choose the one which is time-bound and has an end to it. So you would choose the horrible ritual. But that's like me saying to you,
yes,
I'm going to make you eat dog shit or cat shit. Which one do you want to do? And then sounding wonderful because, some person somewhere might think one of those options is better. The answer to it is neither of them is acceptable. They're both morally depraved. They're both morally unacceptable. And it reflects extremely badly on the moral character of anybody who would try to defend either one of those conditions as being an acceptable thing. So, I'm not going to accept your argument that this horrific act is somehow justified because the only possible alternative is setting her on fire forever. The only possible alternative is don't do any of those things because they're nuts and they're horrible and they're misogynistic and they're psychopathic and they're brutal and they're lacking in empathy and they're lacking in compassion and they're lacking in an understanding of anything good. That would be my answer anyway.
God isn't doing it. People choose to go to hell.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Who commanded this verse? Who commanded this law?
Who commanded this law?
Yeah, about doing this to women. I'm sure it said at the beginning, "So saith the Lord to Moses." I had the crazy idea that these laws came from God. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, the laws that came to Moses were from God. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were. Okay. So just to clarify then, it was God who decided to put women through this horrific torture.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, there we are. Mm-hmm. Okay. Stand-up guy. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yes.
I don't think that we've done anything to show that God isn't silly. That was fun. And I don't think we've done anything to show that God isn't a complete monster, moral vacuum, an empty container with nothing in it of any goodness. Any creature or person that could propose something like this in Numbers is morally bankrupt, broken, and just rubbish. Basically, rubbish is the best word I can come up with. Just trash. Complete trash. And anyone who can read this stuff and not be appalled by it has a big problem. Really a big problem. Like, time to stop and check. Check yourself, man. It's not good. Not good at all. Anyway, with that said, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us. I enjoyed it. And I guess we'll speak again another time. But get some rest. Sounds like you need it. Take care.
All right. Take care, man. Good night.
Okay. We have Stu coming in next. Sean, you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Sorry, man. I was on one a bit there.
No, it's good. It's good.
Let's bring in Stu next. There we go. Hey, Stu.
What's up?
How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Very well indeed, thank you. I'm not sure how much of that last conversation you heard. I'm feeling a little bit grubby.
Yeah, I bet. I didn't catch the original verse or whatever you guys were talking about, but I kind of wanted to jump in to discuss it. Not that specifically, but my own beliefs and your own beliefs, and understand more of what you're about. And maybe change the perspective that you're looking at.
Sure. I'm trying to get your name on the screen. It's coming up with the wrong thing. It keeps on putting Emmanuel Stewart on the screen. That's not who you are. No. So bear with me for that. Sorry. So yeah, what's your perspective?
Well, I think it'd be better if you could kind of give me your perspective, because it sounds like you're
sure
atheist, agnostic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So what's your go ahead. What's your idea of God?
Well, I think that obviously there's lots of different concepts of God, right? So some people have got their own personal idea of God, and some people hold to a God of, the Abrahamic God. I think all of them are pretty silly in different ways, and I think it's silly to have the belief, and I think the actual nature of God as a concept is quite silly. And then I think when we start looking at the God of the Bible, I think the silliness goes up massively, and we get into like a level of silliness which is beyond just the silliness of thinking there's a God. We get into the actual properties of the God, and the inclinations of the God, and the priorities of the God, and the plans of the God, and the way that this God works. And I think it's all a bit silly.
Yeah, which you could, I think if you read it, and I think especially in the context of the church and the church systems that we have, you could definitely see it as that. But when you say the nature of God, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, concepts like a God who is all-knowing and all-powerful. That God can't exist, because if God is all-knowing, then on Monday he knows what he's going to do on Friday, and when Friday comes around, he's not free to change his mind, because if he changes his mind, then he would have been wrong on Monday, right? So those two properties are impossible to resolve. So even just the concept and the way the God is defined is illogical and incoherent and self-contradictory.
So do you believe in the personification of God in the Bible? So when you read he or him or the Lord, you're taking that as there's a guy with a beard in the sky, and he's kind of waving.
I don't imagine a guy with a beard, right. And I think most believers don't imagine a guy with a beard. And what I'm prepared. I think most. I mean, I wouldn't want to speak for them, but my understanding is that most believers imagine that God is a little more sort of
an intangible presence.
That's a little exactly intangible. That's it. Yeah, I don't imagine most people think a man with a beard sitting on a cloud with robes. I don't think most people think that. I mean, some kids maybe.
Right. So you could say that all-knowing, all-powerful. Like, let's say you're a determinist and you think everything is mechanically and scientifically already determined in the universe. Every interaction with any atom or any particle is already determined and already known.
We lost your connection for a second. Just say the last thing you said. Then you broke up for a minute.
If you're like a scientific determinist, where everything has already been determined, every single particle we already know. If we had all the knowledge, we would know everything about the universe.
Yeah.
Well, then you would be God, wouldn't you? If you knew everything. And if you put that all into motion, then you would know. And if you would be all powerful, then of course, if you had that knowledge. So I think a lot of people, they kind of personify God in this way. And they don't look at some of the higher levels where they believe that, and I think this is like a failure of society right now. You can't have a scientific notion and then also have faith in something that's bigger. And you can't follow like the teachings of, let's say, Jesus, for example, who I think is a better role model than Moses, as you were talking about before, who came down from the
only a bit better. I mean, if he is better, I agree he's less sort of genocidally inclined. But Jesus brings with him the promise of infinite punishment and being thrown into a furnace for not believing the right thing. I mean, that Moses never did.
But where in the Bible does it describe hell as a fiery pit?
Well, I mean, hell is described in various different ways, right? So I think in the book of Matthew, you get this recurring theme of wailing and gnashing of teeth, don't you? In Matthew 13:42, they will throw them into the furnace of fire where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's a recurring theme. So we definitely get that. It's not like it was never said.
Right. Because the sort of like the hell we all know really came from Dante's Inferno, right? Like the imagery, right? And so if you look into the Bible, there's not so much of that imagery or the things that we consider hell.
You can find whatever you want, though. So if you want to find the Dante, you can look at Revelation 21:8, and you can see the lake of burning sulfur. And if you want to lean into that not being the case and those things being metaphors, you can justify that position too. I don't really care. I don't really care whether hell is literal fire. I don't really care if it's annihilation. I don't really care if it's a brief period of torture followed by annihilation. I don't really care if it's separation from something good. All of those things, I don't really care about the details. For me, it's the principle. And the underlying principle is punishment for not believing the right things. And that's where the wheels really come off.
Sure. But do you believe that, because you have your own moral compass, of course, regardless of religion. And so do you believe that as you are led astray from that path and you find yourself, like anyone does, sort of in a moment where you might feel compromised or you might feel confused, you don't know what to do, and you kind of maybe you lose yourself a little bit in life and you find yourself in a worse place, or you feel like you find yourself in a place of suffering? You feel like that sometimes?
I mean,
well, everyone goes through hard times, but how by the way, this is Sean. But how does that address punishment for non-belief? Or if you prefer, there's sort of a way out that's expressed. Everyone's punished for their sins, but you're saved through Jesus. But it's still the divine pardon is given on the basis of something that isn't a choice. Like, I'm not choosing not to believe God exists. I'm just not convinced he does.
Right.
In the same way, you can't choose to believe Thor or Shiva or Spider-Man exists. It's not like a decision. Belief is a perception of reality, and I have yet to perceive convincing evidence that God exists.
Sure, I would say in the form that you probably have grown up with. Like I said, if you personify God and you say he, and you say, you make this clear distinction between God and reality and everything beyond it, then I would agree with you. There's not like physical scientific evidence that's measurable that we have at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to debate with you about the issue. Isn't like, because we can have that discussion, like, hey, you have the wrong God concept, this you might find convincing, but the thing is a divine pardon for your sin to be saved from what God will do to you is contingent on belief, and belief is not a choice.
Correct. But how I take that is, they say, if you're Catholic, right, you're let's say you're a serial killer on your deathbed, and then you say, oh, I repent, oh my God, I'm going to heaven, right? And you don't believe that does not count. You're still, like, your life is still damned. You have always in your life, let's say that heaven and hell they don't exist in like the metaphysical sense. They don't exist in like you die, you go forever into like this paradise, and if you did good, and if you did bad, you go to hell. Let's just take it as you have your own independent free will in life, and you can do whatever you want. And people who tend to do not so cool stuff, they're bad to the people around them. They're hateful. They start to become miserable over time, and that starts to compound in their life. And suddenly everything around them becomes bad. Their reality becomes terrible. And they, in essence, are damned to the hell that they've created on earth. Right?
Now, what if someone's a generally good person, but imperfect, like everyone is? This guy cheated on his girlfriend in high school, cheated on his taxes when he was 25, and this isn't me. I'm just saying, not trying to tell on myself. Hypothetical. Stole a pack of cigarettes. He did things, but also did a lot of good things for people, but was just unconvinced any gods exist. Died as an atheist. Does that person go to Helltown, or is that person saved?
Why did they cheat?
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at. So, in other words, the divine pardon is contingent on them, at minimum. Like the starting point is they have to believe God actually exists, right? To be saved.
No. They have to believe like the essence and the philosophy of the path and the word, right?
But they can believe that without believing God exists?
By believing that they believe God exists.
Well, if you believe God exists, then you actually believe God exists.
No. Like there's a lot of people who believe God exists and they're terrible people, right?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So the whole point is, I get it. If you believe God exists, you think you're a Christian, but you don't do the right things.
Right.
Believing, so we will.
That doesn't mean that you're going to heaven.
Yeah. We will concede this, that belief isn't like the only thing that gets you in. However, if you don't believe God exists, everything else is downstream. Having a relationship with God, everything. Basically, if you don't believe God exists, you are not getting into heaven. Is that correct?
How strongly are you rejecting God as you live this life?
I'm not convinced. It doesn't matter. Like, if I'm not convinced God exists,
right?
Are atheists just as likely to get into heaven as Christians?
So you go and you climb this mountain and you look across the valley and you're struck with awe and you reject that feeling.
I don't reject. So I do have awe when I look at a sunset. I do have awe when I contemplate the universe. I do have a sense of awe. I am not convinced that has anything to do with a God, and it's not something I'm choosing to do.
Well, hold on. When those moments happen, are you actively rejecting where your thoughts go? Do you say, yeah, this is amazing, but
no, I don't control. I open my mind to all truth. Yeah.
So then you're open to a God as well.
Of course. Yeah. If a God exists, and I could say this for John too, if a God actually exists, we genuinely want to know. Right. We're just not convinced of it. So I want to go back to my question though. Yes, if we die tomorrow, is it Helltown for us?
It depends on the way that you live your life. That's why I'm asking these specific questions. Is that if you're open to what God is, and you sit there and you say, I don't know, I haven't seen him, and then there could be a point in your life where you say, oh my God, this is real. I understand it now. And if you're open to that kind of moment and you just never see it in your life, that doesn't mean anything. But if you're actively shutting down this part of your brain and you're saying there's nothing more than the physical reality around me, and we know everything, this is how it is.
Nobody's saying we know everything. We're just adopting what you could call epistemic hygiene. We're just saying like the time to believe something is when there's evidence for it. That's it. That's how everyone should be about everything, because any alternative to that is irrational. So we're just saying.
So is it irrational? Was it irrational to think people could fly because we never did it? There's no evidence.
Well, no, that's different, right? That's different because it might have been rational at that point to think we could never fly because people weren't acquainted with the principles of aeronautics. So it was rational to think we weren't. It wasn't irrational.
So then, but you gotta think about this in the context of like reality as well. Like just think about all of the crazy miracles. I guess you could call them miracles. We made them, right? But the fact that we were even able to make them is insane. And again, I'm not saying, God made everything, and even what we do is part of him, even though that is partially what I believe. But if you look at just the things that we've we've created and gotten to up until this point, they've all been on irrational belief, right? Standing on the moon. Yeah.
So are you well, going to the moon was a rational thing, but
no,
so
it was irrational. If you look, but I don't think you're understanding the moon as like a symbolic thing in humanity's history. Totally.
Dude, this is getting a little bit too woo for after 4 a.m.
So we're trying to address the moral the moral implications of punishment that is or punishment, or if you want to call it salvation, that is contingent on belief. And you're kind of steering toward. I'm happy to have the discussion about apologetics.
Sure.
Is it rational to believe in a God, etc.? But what we're trying to get from you is, how is it morally comprehensible to have quote unquote salvation from what God's going to do to us based on belief, when belief is not a choice, an actual choice? That's what we're trying to zero in on.
Right. So I mean, judgment is not something that, like, again, a man is doing when you die and you sit there. It's inside of yourself. You either believe or you don't believe.
Right.
So you either are rejecting something that is greater and is the spiritual concept, or just the simple concept of infinity.
When you say rejecting, you just mean unconvinced. Rejecting makes it sound like a conscious action, like a decision to not believe. It's just, we are not convinced, and we can't choose to be convinced.
But what's going to convince you?
Well, that's a separate discussion.
No, I don't think it is.
Into apologetics.
It is because we don't even need. We can answer I don't know to that question. All that is important is that you either are persuaded or you're not persuaded. Because you don't always know. If there's
what would convince me of string theory. It doesn't mean I'm like shut off from believing string theory.
And it gets even worse, because if there is an all-powerful God, if there is some kind of divine mind, that's not mind, but yeah. Well, any kind of divine creative force that's going to be dishing out punishments or not dishing them out,
it's not it either, though.
The point is, God would know what would convince us, right?
That's the point. And if you're saying no, well then, maybe your own sort of personal interpretation of how all of this stuff works is so unique to you. It's probably consistent in your own mind, but I think it's going to be difficult for us to engage with it meaningfully, because really what we're here to do really is to critique salvation theology. And it sounds to me like you don't really have salvation theology. You've just got a kind of what sounds to me like a fairly new age sort of conception of the divine as being some mix between your own sense of reverence and awe and the organization of the universe in a kind of slightly Spinoza way, plus a little sprinkling of some sort of new agey stuff in there. And I don't mean that to sound demeaning. It's just I'm not sure if your set of ideas is a set of ideas.
I'm not a classical Christian. Right?
Yeah, it sounds like you're not.
Then my viewpoint is not valid. You don't have an argument against me, right?
Well,
you have an argument against a box. All different arguments.
It sounds like I don't think we're even going to get to the point of discovering whether we have an argument against you, because I don't think that your position can really be pinned down without many more hours of surgical work on.
I'm simply asking you questions. I'm simply asking you what would make you believe. That's it.
Yeah, and the answer is I don't know. But if I don't know what would make me believe, and it's okay to not know.
Yeah, of course. But to finish the point is that when it comes to physical reality, when there's a new invention or whatever, what you would need to see to believe it. But with this stuff, you don't. And so
what is your conclusion from that?
That you need to be open to.
We've already said we're open.
I know for a fact I'm open because I have access to my own mind, and I know that I'm open to it.
We're fully open, but you want to be open-minded, but not so much your brains fall out. That's where we're at.
Your brains are not. What are you afraid that your brain's going to fall out?
Well, it's a metaphor.
You meant that literally?
It's a metaphor to say be open-minded, but don't be so open-minded that you remain open to any bullshit that you hear. All the time.
spiral into something.
No, it's because I'm afraid that I don't want to be irrational. Not even afraid. It's the desire to not be irrational which motivates me to think carefully about stuff.
But that's rooted in some sort of like, okay, this is like the best way to live, some security.
It's rooted in pragmatism because I just don't want to be deluded.
It's a desire to believe as many true things, to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. That's it. That's literally the motivation.
That's it.
What? But the world's not like this. It's not black and white. There's a lot of grays, right?
That doesn't address, like, that's a worthy goal, is it not? To align your beliefs with reality as accurately as we can.
Yeah, but there's no like reality in what way? Like you just said previously, it's all perception, isn't it? Like there is reality of me throwing.
Well, so there's objective.
Yes.
There's objective reality. Two things. There's objective reality. There's things that exist whether we know about them or not. There's our perception of reality, and the goal is to align what we believe, our perception of reality, with reality as much as we can. That's it. It's just truth seeking.
Yeah, and on that, as we are at 4:30 a.m. where I am, and I still have some things to read out, I think we'll probably call it a line there. But thanks for coming up to talk to us. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Hi, man. Take care, Stu. Thanks. Bye. Okay. Now, some other stuff to share that I was going to talk about earlier is that we have had some interesting stuff submitted in the questions and answers form. So let's just have a little look at that. So it looks like here's the first one. So first question, this comes from How to Push Back, one of our lovely Inner Circle members. To what extent are people responsible for being misinformed? If belief isn't voluntary, does the ethics of belief become the ethics of attention? Are we morally responsible for what we choose to pay attention to? What do you think about that, Sean?
What a great question, actually.
It is a great question.
I almost want to say, yeah, that's a Baku-style question, and that's actually a compliment.
Yeah.
All right. So to what extent are people responsible for being misinformed? I think would you agree that we have a sort of a moral duty to align our beliefs with reality as accurately as we can for the good of the community? Yeah. So in that regard, I think a person, I'm on the fence as to whether I want to call it a moral imperative, but people definitely should attempt to do that and to hone their own epistemology and to try to align their beliefs with reality as much as possible. If everyone did that, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah.
So the edges of control, that part that you say in your book, you know, about our information diet, how open-minded we are, those are all things we can control. And I do think for the betterment of everybody, including ourselves, there is an imperative. I'd have to do it because this is just an on-the-spot question. You know, do you think that's a moral imperative for people to hone their epistemology, open their minds, become aware of their biases, and try to align their beliefs with reality? What do you think of that, John?
I think to an extent it probably is. And the other thought I had when I was thinking about this was, you know, we can say, well, we can choose what we pay attention to, and we can, you know, choose how to look at things. And yes, there is a certain amount of control there, obviously, but even attention it's only like partly under control, because like one person might feel curiosity where another person doesn't, or just feels a threat or something. One person might lean in, and another person shuts down and can't go there, or doesn't feel able to go there. And these responses are shaped by things other than just our will. So you've got, you know, also the same sort of background conditions that we speak about when we talk about belief also apply to a certain extent to the way we are inclined to use our attention. We all have a backstory. We've all got community pressure. We've all got things that we fear, or our prior beliefs or stuff, and they feed into our inclinations as to how we use our attention. So I think it's not quite, full control over your attention. There's an element there where it's not completely in control as well. But we don't control what feels compelling or dangerous, or what we feel psychologically able even to engage with. So there's a degree there where we're less in control. But it is an interesting one, and I do agree with you that to a certain extent there is some duty. I think there is some duty, because we're a collective. There is some duty to try to believe true things, because if we don't believe true things, then we could potentially be putting ourselves and others at harm as well. So you could say there is some virtue or duty.
Let me give you an example. In the U.S., mRNA vaccines were controversial, right?
Yeah.
And there were two camps. And I'm pro-vaccine. In my camp, we're saying this is an actual pandemic. Getting the vaccine protects people, not just yourself. It helps create herd immunity. It also helps protect others from you, because you could carry the virus, be asymptomatic, and pass it on. You should wear masks, and it's good for the community. On the other camp, these are dangerous, and they're vaccinating kids, and they're going to grow 4 eyes, and I'm being a little hyperbolic, but these vaccines are way more harmful than the virus, etc. So if my side is right, their side is doing great harm to the community, and likewise, if their side is correct, I'm doing harm to the community by encouraging kids to get vaccinated, the whole thing, because these vaccines are so dangerous and they're experimental, so we owe it to the community to actually ascertain what's actually true, not get tribal, not like my side, or try to own the libs or try to own the neocons or what have you. This is a responsibility to the community to get it right. Yeah. And in that regard, there's a moral imperative to forget about my tribe or my personal feelings or who I like or don't like politically or what have you. It's really important to get the facts and to get this one right.
Yeah, I agree. And there are lots of situations like that. So, it's such a good question. It's such a good question. And I think that this is the area which is the closest to being a challenge to our claim of belief being morally neutral, in that this is the one area where you could potentially inject some moralizing in terms of how someone approaches their, let's say, use that phrase again, epistemic hygiene. Are you really are you doing your duty to make sure that you're thinking things through properly and subjecting yourself to the right evidence and the right type of thinking? So fantastic question. How to push back. That's a wonderful submission. Really appreciate that. So the next one from the same person is, how does one get appointed as a puff pastor? Well, the good news is that we are all becoming pastors in the Church of Puff. It happens to all of us over time. You can't even help it. So the more time you spend over here, you're going to feel the spirit of Puff moving within you, and eventually you will see yourself reflected in his scales, and then you'll know that you are a Puff pastor, and you'll be able to spread the word of Puff to all far and wide, because he lived by the sea. So we must never ever forget that. And then the final question that we got submitted on the forums, and again these are for members on the second and third membership tier who have access to this form, and you can control what we talk about, so that's kind of cool. The final question, this is a good one. I see that. Thought experiment. You've got a one-time use time machine, a round trip, don't worry. What do you go back and change? I've always found this to be impossible to answer, but I think the way someone works through it can inform you a bit about their moral framework and troubleshooting skills. No matter what you do, uncountable tragedies will still unfold. So what would you go back and change?
Oh gosh, to give a proper answer, I would need to sit for like an hour and really, because this is, you could go as far back as you want and the implications could be huge. And obviously when people will go back and like fix the mustache man, and like maybe most will say unalive him. I'll say I'll steal him and adopt him and raise him as my own and like make him turn him into a different person, right?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's one. But honestly, one that stands out for me, if I had the means to change anything, I would go back to when the rest of the world was setting up universal health care in the U.S., and for racist reasons, we wouldn't do it here in the U.S., and like change that. If I could find a way to change that to give us universal health care, so we would carry forward with it and join the rest of the world with having it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So I would go back to, I think I'm going to forget my thing now, but I think it was about 312 AD, and Constantine was apparently going to do a battle, and I forget the name of the location. It was something bridge or something like that. And apparently Constantine had a vision of a cross, or a vision of something like that. And then he was victorious in this battle, and he shortly thereafter converted to Christianity. And this one event basically elevated Christianity from a sort of obscure little Jewish end times cult into the official religion of the empire, and set the stage for everything that was going to happen after that. Yeah. And, you know, ushered in all the horror that we see, and everything that came after it, you know, the Inquisition and 1,000 years of science being, stopped, and anti-Semitism being institutionalized, and everything that you know, the blood libel, and that led to Hitler, and all the things that were downstream of that one event. So if I had a time machine, I would go back there and stop Constantine having his vision.
So you really went pro. You really went pro with that. And the butterfly effect really is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's so crazy when you think about it. So let's say, I have no idea, but let's say Adolf's parents met in a library, just for example. Well, all I would have to do is like run into his father, maybe give his father a flat tire or something, stall him, so he would go into the library a little bit later and they never meet. Completely change the course of like all of history. World War II never happened, you know, just the smallest little thing. And so kind of chaos theory with like how everything ties together. Leaving a penny on the sidewalk can completely change history in some way. You just never know.
Yep. Sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Beam me up, Bob has clarified. It was the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. Thank you very much for that. It was just beyond reach in my memory. And I, you know, the point is that who knows whether the story is actually true, whether he had this vision or not. But even if it's not true, it's still the case that one man's decision to convert to this weird little esoteric cult was the penny on the sidewalk, and it changed the world.
I'm going to have to read up on that. That's wild.
Interesting stuff, right? Everything that happened downstream of that was completely crazy. Okay, got a few messages to read out. But before I do, of course, it must be said that we have had some more developments on the bingo. I'm going to need to get better about recognizing these when they actually come up. I think I need to change my notification sound so I hear them, because I miss these. But Gordon Loves Science has been completely on it. So Gordon Loves Science successfully called out the read it in context, and also the Philbro babble. We did have the Philbro babble. So, I definitely think that I am now going to call out, which we missed earlier, that nothing comes from nothing.
I was just looking at that. That's
yeah,
right.
we definitely had that. And I think we had someone in there earlier talking about the historicity of the Bible, didn't we? Wasn't there someone in earlier saying that? I think.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I think
we had so many stops and goes that it's like I'm
we
forgetting.
did. Yeah.
We did have with the last guy. You send yourself to hell.
Yeah, we did have that, but that's not on today's board. But yeah, it is as a proof of concept of the first test drive. This is definitely working quite well. I just need to make sure that my notification. I do have one. I get a little noise when it happens, but it's obviously hasn't been. I haven't got it right because I managed to miss them. So I'm going to try and make it so that I have a louder noise and also something to cue me visually. But yeah, good work, team. This is definitely happening. So we will keep doing this. It's going according to plan. So that's very good. A couple of messages to share with you. Again, it's been so disjointed today with the. I mean, I'm just going to assume this was like guys in a phone cabling signal station somewhere nearby unplugged something for a few minutes while they were doing maintenance work or something, and that's why the stream stopped, because it doesn't normally do that. But I'm pleased that we're kind of back up and running. So to share some messages, very, very good friend, Robotaholic, always nice to see you. Thank you very much for that donation. I really appreciate that. And Tim, of course, back on form. If masturbation is a sin, I'm the new Hitler. Well, I wouldn't possibly be able to comment on that for you, Tim, but yes, if you say so.
Challenge accepted. Anyway, go ahead.
Just some random dude again. You just answered, this guy's brain really isn't working. I'm trying to remember who that was for, but I suspect I might know. We have had a couple of notable clippable moments today, so I'm quite looking forward to dealing with those in the coming days and getting them out there. You always know when the calls are going to be the ones that are going to be great.
On the live stream, because YouTube saves them on the live tab, is it going to have like 3 different ones?
Yeah, it will. It's going to be such a mess. I'll have to just sort of put stuff in the notes for them saying forgive it stopping in the middle and stuff. But yeah, it's not ideal, and you can't kind of tie them together or anything. It's just is what it is. But yeah, there we are.
Fair enough.
APM secular pagan mum, Dante would be making bank today. Yeah, for sure. On all the inferno imagery and all of that stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, if Dante had like registered all of that stuff, like got some kind of IP protection on the fiery hell thing, that would be a good earner, I reckon. And Zeitgeist Omega, Groovy Man needs to check his morality. Completely disgusting. Yeah, this was our friend earlier who was trying to justify the horrific jealousy ritual. Yeah, I'm going to be running that one some more because I've not actually brought it up on the stream before. And I was reading it yesterday and I was thinking, why have I not spoken about this? This is absolutely disgusting. So that's going to get rotated in. Some people sometimes complain that these conversations get a bit samey when we use the same examples. So I'm going to try and change it up a little bit and use some other things. It's really tricky though, because quite often when we use the same examples, it's because they really are the best ones. And so you would have to sort of deliberately choose a less powerful example just for the sake of varying it up a bit. But I think there's a balance to be had there. So I'm going to try and keep it interesting for everyone, because I appreciate, whilst every conversation is different, we don't want to be going over exactly the same conversational ground all the time. So we're not going to run out of things to talk about.
And also, if you guys DM myself or John, if any on either side, YouTube or... Well, you won't be able to DM me on YouTube, but anyways, if you have a topic idea or something you would like to see discussed, send it to us, mention it to us in the chat or wherever verbally, because John and we often stick to the same ones for a while, but always open to new ideas if there's anything you'd like us to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah, we're completely open for suggestions, and we want to be happy to be guided by you guys in terms of what you want to hear us talk about and do. Just one final message here from Gordon Loves Science. saying get some rest. Good stuff tonight. Well, thanks, Gordon. I definitely will. As we approach 5 a.m. here, I'm really glad that I gave it a third try to come back in, because after the connection crashed the second time, I was like, is it time to just give up and say I'm not going to fight this tonight? But I'm glad I did, because we've had some good stuff happening. So that is quite good. And while we're at it, I need to just speak about the wonderful Inner Circle members, of which there are currently 6. It's not a big number, but it's quality, not quantity. So Amon Ra and How to Push Back, and the wonderful Gordon Love Science, and Fliberty Giblets, and Tim Cooney, and Drew Smith are our Inner Circle members. They are at the front of the pack, leading the charge, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the support from everyone, actually. Whether you support the channel with memberships, which is really helpful, or you don't, that's fine. I'm just grateful that you guys are here, and I am every time. So that's why I put in like cheesy music while I say this bit, to enhance the emotional valence of what I'm saying, so that you guys know I really, really mean it. But I really do. So yeah, there we are. That's the obligatory thanks to the wonderful people. Right. Well, we don't have. We do actually. We've got one more guest. We've got one more guest in the YouTube queue. So shall we do that? I think we probably should. I just think.
What the heck?
Why not? We've had disruptions. Let's get Saint in right now. There we go. Hey Saint, how you doing? Are you there, Saint? Trying. Nope.
Saint Dell, can you hear us?
Maybe not. Maybe it's not meant to be. Nope, they just disappeared. Okay, well, there we are. Well, on that, I think it might be time then, with the queues empty. Oh, hang on, they're back again. A resurrection. This is a resurrection. We're going to try again.
Hello.
Saint, are you there?
Yes.
You are. Okay. There you go. We nearly lost you. We nearly lost you there, but we've got you back now.
Doing well.
Okay, well, you're probably going to be our final caller tonight, but the floor is yours. Would you like to comment on something you've heard or seen?
I was here from the beginning, or not from the beginning, but I was here pretty early on, and I heard a couple of people come on that were atheists. And even though I'm a Christian, it's hard not to feel compassion for what they're going through, especially like the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
And having to not like depend on God as backing, like emotional backing for that experience. I don't know how so many people come across Christians that are like rude to them. And at this point, I think it might be safer morally to be an atheist than it is to be a Christian. Like, I feel like more Christians are in for a rude awakening when it comes to judgment than atheists are.
That's interesting. I didn't understand exactly what you meant by safer, but now I understand what you do mean in a sort of by their fruits you shall know them kind of way. And yeah, I mean, thank you for saying what you said. I appreciate that. And differences of opinion about theology should not be a reason to switch off compassion to each other. That doesn't make sense at all.
100%.
We all, we have more in common than what separates us, and people sometimes forget that. And everything online nowadays is always set up to create in groups and out groups and identify enemies and friendlies, and it's all optimized for that. And it doesn't need to be. I do think these are important conversations, and my whole thing with this is, even if Christianity were true, let's imagine for a second that it is true, that there is a God, that he gave his son to do things because of sin and provide a route to salvation and all of that stuff. Imagine all of that was true. I would still say that it's immoral to condemn people for non-belief. So the idea that punishment for non-belief is wrong, that idea exists. I would believe that even if I were a Christian, even if I believed in God and Jesus, I would still think that it would be wrong to condemn people for non-belief. How does that perspective land for you?
I think that's another one of those questions that I've had, that I've found an answer that satisfies me, that a lot of other people don't really have that answer. And I don't know if it's good to give people who don't believe that type of answer, because it doesn't require faith anymore for you if you know that answer. But I have no problem saying it. There's this okay, when Jesus Christ died in those 3 days, there was this place called Abraham's bosom, where all the people who hadn't or who believed in God but died before Jesus Christ died on the cross were given an opportunity to hear him preach to them, and they were saved. But they never knew Christ before they died. They just lived a righteous life. And I think if God is loving enough to provide some type of he made a provision, a way for them to get saved, even though they never heard of Christ before they died. So I think if he's that merciful, that there is definitely an exception for people in this day and age that don't get to hear of his name. And for the people who do get to hear of his name, if you're genuinely willing to accept, but it just doesn't make sense to you yet, you're not rebellious about it, then I don't think you're really in danger. I don't really think you're in danger. I think there's grace and time for you to find out. And if at the end of your life somehow you didn't, then maybe there's a provision in the afterlife about that. But I think,
Fair enough.
I think if you just purposefully go against it, then I think that's when condemnation is there for you. If you know about it and you go against it, then I think that's when you're kind of.
I hear you. I mean, that would be a bit silly, right? If somebody knows about it and they do believe that there is a heaven and a hell and that they could end up in, the bad place, nobody would choose to go to hell, right? No one would say, I'm going to the place of infinite anguish and torture or annihilation. I don't think that type of person actually exists. I think you either have people who are convinced by it and think it's real, or you have people who aren't convinced by it and don't think it's real and therefore don't worry about those consequences in the same way that you don't worry about the consequences of offending Allah and going to Islamic hell. I'm gonna guess that the number of times you've woken up in the night feeling terrified about going to Islamic hell is probably zero. It's probably not something that bothers you very much, right?
I was actually raised in an Islamic household, so.
Okay. Well, then that was a bad example for me. But we could substitute in another faith, right? We could, another religion that punishes non-adherence to that. The point being that, we can't get it right for all religions. So, it's. I don't think there are people who think that those consequences really exist and are happy to take them. I don't think that's a category of people that exist.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I hear a lot of, and I'm an atheist, but I hear a lot of my fellow atheists. They'll say, I don't know if they mean it literally, or if they're just trying to illustrate, get across a point, but we'll be asked well, what if you die and you find out God is real? And the first thing they'll say is, I'll tell that God you got some explaining to do. I may feel that internally, but if this dude's all powerful and he's ready to cast me into where I literally burn alive for all eternity, no, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I'm gonna grovel. I'm going to try to avoid that, infinite torture, of course, but I don't think that speaks well of him. If I were stuck in North Korea, I'm going to I'm gonna praise dear leader. Like I'm not gonna want to like get unalived or stuck in a concentration camp with like no food, breaking rocks until I unalive. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah,
nobody's gonna choose hell. Like
I
if you're
understand
given
that.
an actual choice, like you know, you have to live this eternal like groveling at God's feet, or you're going to be burned alive for all eternity. I don't think anyone's going to choose the going to Helltown.
Yeah, that's the reason why once you're in hell, you can never really get out, because your only reason for wanting to get out is that you just don't want to suffer. You don't actually want God or any of the things that He is. Like, God isn't just a person, He is like the physical embodiment of truth itself. If you live your life genuinely seeking the truth, eventually you'll find Him. I don't think that there's anyone who's willing to sacrifice like everything for the sake of the truth that doesn't end up finding Him.
Yeah, I guess the bigger point is there's going to be two types of people: true atheists or true believers in the quote unquote wrong God, or people, anyone who truly believes, whether it's the Islamic God or the Christian God, they both have their forms of like really ludicrous torture. If somebody truly believes, they're going to try to avoid that bad place.
Avoiding the bad place isn't really true faith. It's just fear.
Well, yeah, but it's true belief. Like if you believe all that stuff is real, you're not going to choose to go to the bad place. You're going to try to avoid it. Now, whether you succeed, that's a separate question. But nobody's going to be like, screw that guy. I'll take the bad place. Like nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. If you're willing to sort of not accept the gift that's apparently offered, it's not because you want the punishment, it's because you don't think there is one.
Yeah. Okay. The
But
only
man,
way they get past it, the only way they get past the punishment thing is to believe that it's just not there, right?
to just not be convinced of it. That's where I'm at with this stuff. I don't think there is any punishment. I don't think there are any consequences for non-belief. I think if there is a God, and if that God is good, then God understands that intellectual honesty is actually a virtue. It's not something to be punished for, and that all you can do is look at the world and try and make sense of it, and try and be guided by the information that you have to work with. And that's what all of us do. That's what anyone can do. And so if there's a God that is punishing people for sincerely doing that, then that God would be a monster. And if that's the case, if there's a monster God, well then okay, then we're all screwed. But if there's a benevolent God, if there's a good God, then God would have full access to our minds and would understand that if something doesn't persuade you, you can't believe it. And we're all justified in believing whatever we believe because that's what we're being persuaded of. So that's just how it works. And God would know that. God would understand how human minds work. So I'm pretty relaxed about it. I think there either isn't a God, or if there is a God, he's either evil, in which case we're all screwed and there's nothing you can do about it, or he's good, in which case nothing to worry about.
I think that's a good position to hold, and I think that he's good and there's not much to worry about. Even in Romans, there's like he lays out how he's going to judge the Gentiles who don't believe in God, and it seems pretty merciful to me. Like, as long as they live a righteous life, it seems like they're going to get a fair judgment.
Even though it says they are without excuse?
Yeah, they still have to follow the law. Or basically, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and they'll be held accountable for the things that they do that are wrong. But the judgment is still fair.
Fair enough. Well, thank you. I don't want to end the call without expressing gratitude for the compassion you showed as the first thing you said when you came in. That was much appreciated. So thank you for doing that. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
And thanks for ending us off tonight. Appreciate it, Saint. Take it easy, man.
Have a good one, Saint.
Thanks.
You too.
Okay, that was a nice call to end on. Nice guy. And a slightly more benevolent theology there too. I mean, again, we don't agree, but we've heard worse. So that's it. I think that it might be time to call it now, after 5 a.m. Thank you very, very much. We will do this again on Saturday night. We'll do another night stream on Saturday. And we'll have lots of fun, I'm sure. Again, hopefully my connection problems will be sorted out by then. And I am furiously trying to figure things out to massively improve my connection so I can do a horizontal stream, because I know people want that. Quite a few people have asked for it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do both right now. I'm on a crappy broadband connection. I need to get fiber in here. So I'm working on that. And as soon as it happens, you guys will know about it. So thank you very, very, very much. And I appreciate everyone. I appreciate you all for hanging out with us, and for bearing with me with the tech issues tonight as well. I really appreciate that. Don't take that for granted at all. So keep well. Thank you to all the mods. Mods are doing an amazing job on both sides. And Sean, thank you as always as well.
Yeah, of course, John. Thank you as well. And thanks everybody and the regulars. Love you guys.